Shenlang suddenly fixed his eyes on Zhong Shishir. Zhong Shishir, with your noble status, you normally never drink well water. You only drink mountain spring water, right? He went on to tell her that the mountain spring near the northern park hunting ground, the one she liked most, had also been tampered with at the source. You have not been using that spring water to brew tea lately, have you? Zhong Shishir's expression changed instantly. Shenlang, you lied to me. Shenlang calmly took out what he had prepared. Why would I lie to you? I still have some of the poisonous blood left. He continued pressing her. I already investigated you. You love brewing tea with mountain spring water, so of course I paid special attention to you. Zhong Shishir was so furious that she could barely speak. Shenlang continued frightening her. Shue understands this kind of cursed poison better than anyone. You noticed it early, so perhaps there is still time, but if it is delayed too long, the consequences will be completely different. Zhong Shishir immediately imagined the worst possible outcome. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she became, and the arrogance she had shown earlier disappeared completely. Zhong Shishir finally could not endure it any longer and mounted her horse. All she wanted now was to hurry back and confirm whether something was really wrong with her body. Before leaving, she still gritted her teeth and threatened Shenlang. Just you wait. The Zhong family will not let this end here. When Zhong Miao saw her young lady suddenly leave, she hurried after her. Miss, wait for us. The entire Zhong cavalry force immediately turned around and withdrew with her. Once the Zhong troops were finally gone, Shenlang called everyone forward. All right, let's go inside. Wu Lai suddenly thought of something. Young master, if the water was poisoned, do we need to dig another well? Kui Chen burst out laughing beside her. Only then did Shenlang admit the truth. Of course I deceived Zhong Shishir. Those cursed bugs are far too precious. Why would I waste them by throwing them into a well? Wu Lai became even more confused. Then what caused all those symptoms on their bodies? Beside them, Sword King Li Qianxiu's expression had already turned dark. Shenlang explained, that was not cursed poison at all. It was merely a plant toxin that causes skin symptoms. Wu Lai immediately worried that once Zhong Shishir returned and asked Shue to examine them, the entire lie would be exposed. But Shenlang was not worried at all. Why would I trouble His Majesty over something this small? Relax. Zhong Shishir will not have the time or attention to care about the northern park hunting ground for a while. Wu Lai turned around and suddenly noticed something strange. Where did Senior Sword King go? Meanwhile, Zhong Shishir was galloping away at full speed. All along the road, she was cursing Shenlang through clenched teeth. She had already made up her mind. Once she confirmed that she was safe, she would return and settle the score with Shenlang. But she was riding so quickly that the Zhong cavalry behind her had already fallen far behind. While she was completely unprepared, a figure suddenly appeared behind her. Li Qianxiu moved swiftly and subdued Zhong Shishir. But inside, he was already miserable. Why does Shenlang always make me do these embarrassing jobs? When Zhong Shishir regained consciousness, she found herself inside a hidden cave. She looked up and saw a mysterious man wearing a white ghost mask standing in front of her. Who are you? Without waiting for an answer, Zhong Shishir pulled out a concealed weapon. What exactly do you want? Li Qianxiu saw the rainstorm pear blossom weapon in her hand and was surprised himself. How does she have one of these? Zhong Shishir immediately attacked, launching a storm of hidden needles toward the masked man. But the opponent's martial arts were terrifyingly powerful. He blocked the entire attack almost effortlessly. Only then did Zhong Shishir realize that they were on completely different levels. Who is this man? How can he be this strong? She immediately tried to intimidate him with her identity. My father is Zhong Yao, and my aunt is one of the King of Yu's favored consorts. You had better release me immediately. When threats failed, she switched to temptation. If you let me go, I can pretend none of this ever happened. With martial arts like yours, serve the Zhong family and you will never lack wealth or status. But the next time Zhong Shishir woke up, she discovered that she had been placed in a deeply compromising situation. She immediately realized that someone had set up an elaborate scheme against her. Then she found a letter left behind by someone calling himself White Impermanence. The letter was deliberately ambiguous, mentioning the rain from the night before and the Zhong family secrets she had supposedly revealed. The more Zhong Shishir read, the more devastated she became. Her first thought was what this would mean for her future marriage. Then she quickly began suspecting Shenlang. After all, he was the person most likely to possess a drug capable of confusing someone and making them reveal secrets. But another problem immediately appeared. Shenlang does not know martial arts. The man from last night was terrifyingly powerful. Then who is he? Zhong Shishir completely lost her composure. What am I supposed to do now? After struggling with the decision, she chose to head for the capital first. Everything else could wait. She needed to confirm whether there was truly anything wrong with her body. Not long afterward, Zhong Miao finally found her. Miss, we have been looking for you all night. Where did you go? Zhong Shishir could only invent an excuse. I rode too fast last night and ended up getting lost. Zhong Miao then asked whether she still intended to find Shue. Next, Zhong Miao gave her the crucial news. Miss, Shenlang deceived all of us. There are no cursed bugs in our bodies at all. Madame Shue personally tested our blood. She confirmed that the symptoms were only caused by a plant and will disappear on their own in a few days. Zhong Shishir finally breathed a sigh of relief, but Zhong Miao was furious. Since we were not poisoned, let's go back and settle things with Shenlang right now. Zhong Shishir thought for a moment and changed her mind as well. She wanted the northern park hunting ground confirmed back, but more importantly, she needed to personally confirm whether the white impermanence from the night before had anything to do with Shenlang. The two immediately turned around. When the Zhong troops learned that Zhong Shishir had returned, they immediately regrouped. Miss is back. Let's go settle things with Shenlang. 2,000 cavalrymen once again thundered toward the northern park hunting ground. Along the way, Zhong Shishir kept replaying the events of the previous night in her mind. She remembered the heavy rain, and she remembered the distinctive plum blossom mark on the mysterious man's chest. The Zhong cavalry charged back into the hunting ground. The Zhong family army is back. Everyone move aside. Shenlang came out smiling as if nothing had happened. Why has Zhong Shishir returned again? What I said yesterday about you being poisoned was only a joke. Zhong Shishir had no interest in arguing about the poison. Shenlang, I only want to ask you one thing. Where were you when it was pouring last night? Shenlang looked completely innocent. Of course I was in the military camp at the northern park hunting ground. Zhong Shishir immediately pressed him. Who can prove it? Shenlang directly named his witnesses. Kui Chen, Sword King Li Qianqiu, Third Prince Ning Qi, and Xuepan could all testify for him. The moment Zhong Shishir heard that Ning Qi and Xuepan had also been there, she visibly began to panic. Xuepan stepped forward on his own. After you disappeared, we immediately sent people out to search for you. He also confirmed that once the real rainstorm began, everyone had indeed stayed inside the northern park hunting ground camp. Shenlang added that they had spent the night waiting for the search teams to return. Zhong Shishir found it harder and harder to connect a mysterious expert from the previous night with Shenlang. Xuepan continued asking, Shishir, where exactly did you go last night? She only dared to answer, I got lost. As for what had really happened the night before, she did not dare say a single word. The next moment, she turned her horse around and left. Zhong Miao shouted anxiously behind her, Miss, where are you going now? Zhong Shishir's mind was already completely focused on the mysterious man. White impermanence, whoever you are, I will find you. The Zhong troops had no choice but to withdraw once again. Everyone on Shenlang's side was left staring in confusion. After they were gone, the truth behind Shenlang's plan was finally revealed. He had carefully timed the fake rainstorm outside the cave the moment the real storm began, and his own return to camp. The most important detail was the plum blossom mark Zhong Shishir remembered. That clue had also been deliberately planted by Shenlang to mislead her. With Zhong Shishir unlikely to cause trouble again for a while, Shenlang could finally focus on what truly mattered. Next, he would transform more than 2,300 blank bloodline bearers. Their natural talent was extremely poor, but their discipline, obedience, and loyalty were nearly flawless. Once they gained strength, they could immediately become a true elite force. Shenlang gave the order at once. More than 2,300 people, 100 per group. Send them all into the laboratory. Inside the temporary laboratory at the northern park hunting ground, the first group of blank bloodline bearers was already lying in neat rows. Shenlang walked up to the first boy and reassured him, do not be afraid. You will be fine. To his surprise, the boy, who almost never spoke, answered on his own, I know, I am not afraid. Shenlang froze for a moment. Only then did he realize that these people understood perfectly well who was genuinely helping them. He nodded. Then let us begin. The first dose of golden bloodline cursed bugs was injected into the boy's body. Shenlang intended to watch with his own eyes and see whether this miracle could truly succeed. The cursed bugs began consuming the boy's life energy. His body weakened rapidly. At one point, even his heartbeat nearly stopped. But Shenlang knew this was still not the most dangerous stage. The true danger was the violent conflict between the new power released by the cursed bugs and the boy's original body. If that clash went out of control, his body might not survive it. The boy's body began changing dramatically. Shenlang watched every reaction without looking away. Fortunately, the worst possible outcome never happened. The bloodline transformation successfully entered the next stage. Now it only needed time. Shenlang then walked over to Li Guzi. Li Guzi, are you afraid? Li Guzi was extremely sensitive and was trembling from nervousness, but he still forced himself to accept it. The second transformation began. After that, Shenlang barely rested at all. More than 2,300 people received the injections one after another. When every single one of them had survived the first stage, Shenlang finally allowed himself to relax. Now we wait for the results. Meanwhile, something important was happening in Black Tortoise City. After returning from the capital, Jean Mulan realized that her monthly cycle was already several days late. It had already been 4 full days. Growing more nervous by the moment, Jean Mulan called in Zaishi to check her pulse. After examining her carefully, and Zaishi finally smiled. Congratulations, Mississippi, you are pregnant. Jean Mulan was instantly overwhelmed with joy. She and Shenlang had been married for more than a year, and now they finally had a child of their own. At the same time in the capital, Xiao Bing had already gone into labor. The midwife stayed beside her, urging her to hold on and keep pushing. Before long, the loud cry of a newborn filled the room. The baby had arrived safely. The midwife happily announced, Congratulations, madam. It is a little girl. Xiao Bing, however, looked disappointed. Why did it have to be a girl? Just like me. The 5th prince's consort, Lady Zhua, immediately comforted her. This child's life would be completely different from Xiao Bing's childhood. From the moment she was born, she was Shenlang's daughter and a true young lady of the Jin family. Xiao Bing gradually felt better after hearing that. Everyone nearby adored the baby, saying she would surely grow grow into a beautiful girl. Ningyan also came over for a secret look. Seeing the baby made her think about having a child with Shenlang herself, but when she imagined it actually happening, she realized she still was not mentally prepared. Granny Su stared at Ningyan and sighed. With a body like that, it would be a waste not to have 8 or 10 children. Someone beside her hurriedly whispered, "Granny Su, that woman was Princess Ningyan." They had always heard rumors about Princess Ningyan and Shenlang, but they never expected them to be true, much less that she would openly stay in his household. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. At the Northern Park Hunting Ground Laboratory, the first boy to undergo the bloodline transformation was still lying on the bed. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open. The 3-day bloodline transformation was finally complete. The boy abruptly sat up and immediately began checking his own body. The more he examined himself, the stranger it felt. What happened? My entire body feels completely different. The moment he got out of bed, he was even more shocked. The body that had once felt heavy and clumsy was now unbelievably light and agile. The boy walked over to a mirror and stared at his reflection in disbelief. Is the person in that mirror really me? Before he could recover from the shock, someone entered the room. Kui-chan saw that he was awake and immediately called him over. "You are awake? Come with me." The two arrived at the training ground. Kui-chan pointed at the first stone lock. "This one weighs 80 caddies. Lift it and let me see." The boy gripped the stone lock, took a deep breath, and pulled upward with all his strength. 80 caddies turned out to be far too light for him now. His new strength erupted so suddenly that he nearly sent both himself and the stone lock flying. Kui-chan immediately switched to something heavier. 150 caddies. Try again. The boy raised 150 caddies over his head without trouble. Kui-chan immediately increased the challenge. Then try 280. Even 280 caddies could not stop him. Kui-chan finally raised the weight all the way to 390. This time, the boy finally began to struggle, but he still forced the stone lock upward. Kui-chan told him to put it down. 390 caddies is your current limit, but for you, this is only the beginning. Next came the speed test. 150 paces straight ahead. Run as fast as you can. Begin. The boy shot forward like an arrow and finished the distance in barely 2 breaths. Even Kui-chan was stunned, but when the boy returned, he suddenly lowered his head and began to cry. Kui-chan realized that he could no longer control his emotions. Years of being despised, mocked, and treated as useless suddenly came flooding back. The boy cried harder and harder. Kui-chan did not stop him. "If you want to cry, then cry as loudly as you need. You do not have to hold it in anymore." It took a full 10 minutes before the boy finally calmed down. Kui-chan asked, "Who do you want to see most right now?" The boy answered without hesitation, "Young Master Shin." Even Kui-chan was surprised that someone who rarely spoke could feel such deep gratitude toward Shenlang. Kui-chan told him that Shenlang's daughter had just been born, so Shenlang had gone home and would probably return in a day or two. He then ordered the boy to take Li Guzi through the same tests once he woke up, followed by every remaining soldier. No one even needed to chase them down. More than 2,000 men lined up on their own and completed every strength and speed test. Kui-chan quickly assembled everyone. Next, follow the drill manual and practice the first and second forms. When you are done, assemble for food. After eating, practice the third and fourth forms. Once training is finished, return and rest. More than 2,000 men immediately divided into 23 neat formations. They did not even need supervision and began repeating their drills on their own. Kui-chan looked at the army in front of him and became even more excited for the border hunt 3 months later. This force will become our true trump card. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the Wu Kingdom. A deputy minister of rights from Chu had entered the Wu Kingdom. Officially, he was an envoy, but his true purpose was clearly more complicated. Along the road, he saw ruined towns everywhere. Bianshao had withdrawn months ago, but the areas devastated by war still had not recovered. For Chu, however, this was good news. The weaker Wu became, the easier it would be for Chu to influence and use it. After several months of recovery, Wu had finally regained some strength. The king of Wu formally received the Chu envoy at the royal palace. The Chu envoy immediately mocked Ning Yuanxian, claiming he was clearly using Shenlang and Ningjing as cannon fodder to buy temporary peace from Chu through the border hunt. The king of Wu looked up. Is that really the case? The envoy then changed the subject to grain. I heard Wu is suffering a serious food shortage. The king of Wu admitted that grain was scarce, but said the situation had not yet become a full-scale famine. The Chu envoy immediately offered bait. Chu had an excellent harvest this year. Since our nations are friendly, we are willing to lend Wu 1 million share of grain. 1 million share would at least give Wu some breathing room. The king of Wu was visibly tempted by the number. The king of Wu immediately said that if the king of Chu was willing to be so generous, he would write a promissory note and repay every bit of it. But a promissory note was not what the Chu envoy wanted. The grain can be given for free, but the king of Chu has one small request. I hear you have a secret agreement with Ning Yuanxian. The Chu envoy finally revealed the real condition. The king of Chu wanted Wu to publicly declare every secret agreement with Ning Yuanxian void, then sign a new alliance with Chu. The king of Wu avoided giving a direct answer. Wu and Chu are already brother nations, but the envoy refused to let it go. If Wu formally sided with Chu, the 1 million share of grain would immediately belong to Wu. The king of Wu did not agree immediately. Envoy, go and rest first. This matter is too important, and I need time to consider it. The moment the Chu envoy left, Wu's ministers dropped to their knees. knees. Millions of disaster victims were waiting for food, and if this continued, many would not survive the winter. The king of Wu immediately became furious. Do you think only you care about the people? Do you think I do not? He dismissed everyone and ordered them to leave him alone. Once the last old minister withdrew, the king of Wu could no longer contain himself and slammed his hand down on the table. Am I really supposed to be such a shameless king that I tear up an agreement only a few months after signing it? To him, abandoning his word for 1 million share of grain was the same as selling his own dignity. The old general beside him urged him not to be angry. Ministers and kings naturally saw things differently. The king of Wu understood that to his officials, if his reputation could be exchanged for grain, then selling it seemed worthwhile. But how many times could a king sell his credibility before it became worthless? The king of Wu knew perfectly well that although the kingdom lacked grain, the powerful clans did not. Their private granaries were overflowing. The real problem was that they simply refused to give any of it up. The old general reminded him that grain was not even the greatest concern. The real figure worth watching was the man rising rapidly in the south. The king of Wu immediately said one name: Jin Jun. He had to admit that the young man might be far more capable than he was. The king of Wu went even further. The king of Chu had probably already reached some kind of understanding with Jin Jun. Once the situation in the south matured, Chu would surely use it to put even more pressure on you. In his view, a single border hunt would never satisfy the king of Chu. Chu wanted to keep forcing Ning Yuanxian backward, step by step, until you could no longer resist. The king of Wu suddenly asked, but what if he wins the border hunt? The old general believed the possibility was extremely low. Chu was sending battle-hardened elite troops, and it would be 5,000 against 2,000. We will know the answer soon enough. The next day, the king of Wu formally rejected Chu's demand in court. He declared that Wu's agreement with you was a legitimate treaty, not some secret pact that could be casually torn apart. The ministers continued trying to persuade him, but the king of Wu made his position clear. The word of the Wu court is worth gold. We will not tear up a signed agreement for petty gain. The king of Wu then issued another order. From that day forward, palace expenses would be cut by 2/3. He himself would eat only 2 bowls of thin porridge each day, and every bit of grain saved by the royal family would go to the starving people. The king of Wu then personally visited veteran officials and noble families to borrow grain. After half a month of effort, they had produced only 50,000 share in total. The king of Wu finally lost patience. Before long, a top-secret list was suddenly leaked from Wu's leadership. The list contained the names of numerous high-ranking Wu officials, all accused of secretly taking bribes from Wu's Blackwater platform. The king of Wu immediately began making arrests, imprisoning more than 10 officials. One second-rank official was punished along with his entire clan. The other great families panicked, and within only 10 days they voluntarily produced 800,000 share of grain. The king of Wu looked at the new grain ledger and finally smiled. Now that is more like it. Once the grain was secured, the king of Wu burned the list in front of his ministers and announced that the supposed bribery scandal had merely been a conspiracy fabricated by outsiders. At the same time, Wu Mu officially returned to court. The king of Wu used the opportunity to purge the old power structure and gradually replace veteran officials with a new generation. Looking at the old officials, the king of Wu had only one thought: you old men have occupied those seats long enough. Meanwhile, Shen Lang's home in the capital was a completely different world. He spent every day holding his newborn daughter and barely cared about the northern park hunting ground anymore. Li Sun personally delivered Ning Yuanxian's message. Because the current situation made a 1-month celebration impossible, Ning Yuanxian had searched through ancient texts himself and chosen a name for the baby: Shen Ni. Shen Lang's first reaction was mild annoyance. She is my daughter. I was planning to name her myself. Li Sun could barely believe him. Countless nobles would beg for the honor of having the king personally name their child. Li Sun then explained that the character Mi represented peace, gentleness, and grace, while also carrying an ancient connection to the sage King Fu Shi. Shen Lang immediately changed his tone. That is actually pretty good. Li Sun then produced an early gift from Consort Bien, a precious jade relic from an ancient civilization, said to have once belonged to an ancient sage king. Ning Yuanxian had also promised that once the border hunt ended, the baby would be around 3 months old. He would bring her into the palace and personally make up for everything with a grand 100-day celebration. While Shen Lang enjoyed family life at home, the area around the northern park hunting ground was already filled with spies. The crown prince, Ming Qi, the Zhong family, and even Chu had all sent people to watch. But the more the spies watched, the more ridiculous it seemed. 2,000 soldiers spent every day swinging wooden swords and repeating the same basic chopping motion. After several days, many spies stopped bothering to watch. There were no complex formations, no long-distance endurance drills, no archery, and no real close combat training. On the surface, the army looked almost completely useless. What the spies did not know was that those apparently ordinary wooden swords were filled with lead. Every swing was secretly building arm strength and fundamental power through brutal repetition. When the real battle began, these soldiers would switch to enormous heavy blades and wear full suits of heavy armor. Kui Chen finally understood why Shen Lang was building them into the heavy sword army. Inside the palace, Ning Yuanxian continued pretending to be gravely ill. Reading the secret reports from his bed, he could not help thinking thinking that he had actually reached the point of imitating Su Nan and pretending to be near death. The effect was immediate. Officials who had always claimed neutrality began secretly searching for new masters the moment Ning Yuanxian fell ill. The struggle between the Crown Prince and Ning Qi also escalated into open attempts to destroy each other. Ning Yuanxian suddenly remembered what happened after the death of the Chan King Alagang, when his sons nearly tore the kingdom apart fighting over succession. He had mocked them then, but now his own sons did not look much better. Instead, Ning Zheng, the son everyone had ignored, began to stand out more and more in Ning Yuanxian's mind. Perhaps someone who can endure, carry burdens, and remain broad-minded is actually better suited to inherit the throne. Just then, someone reported from outside, "Your Majesty, Lord Yanni has returned." Ning Yuanxian immediately ordered that he be brought in. Yanni entered and immediately knelt down. "Your Majesty, I failed again." Jin Jun was now terrifying not only as a commander, but as a warrior himself. Nearly every expert sent by the Black Water platform had failed. Yanni could only warn Ning Yuanxian that war in the south was becoming unavoidable. Ning Yuanxian found it difficult to connect the Jin Jun of today with the gentle, quiet hostage prince he remembered. He finally understood that the earlier warnings about the south had not been exaggerated at all, but the real problem appeared immediately. If you needed to reinforce the south with another massive army, where could those soldiers possibly come from? Any large transfer would hollow out the northern defenses. What Ning Yuanxian feared most was Wu. If I empty the northern defenses, will the king of Wu seize the opportunity and march south? Yanni believed Wu was too trapped by its grain crisis to move in the short term, but the king of Wu had not rejected Chu out of loyalty or honor either. He was simply waiting for a better moment. Ning Yuanxian then asked, "If I hand the entire northern front to Bian Shao, can he hold it?" The answer only gave Ning Yuanxian another headache. "I do not know. Bian Shao is brilliant at attacking, not defending." Ning Yuanxian quickly ordered the Privy Council, Ministry of War, and Ministry of Revenue to calculate everything again. "If we really send another army south, how much will the troop pay, provisions, and total frontline expenses cost?" The memorial soon arrived in Ning Yuanxian's hands. He looked at the number once, and his expression immediately changed. 3.5 million gold coins. The amount was almost comparable to Yu's entire annual revenue. At that exact moment, Princess Ning Jia suddenly requested an audience. The news Ning Jia brought was even more unbelievable. The Hidden Yuan Society had voluntarily offered to lend you the full 3.5 million gold coins. Ning Yuanxian's first reaction was that he must have heard wrong. You had not even finished repaying its previous debts, yet the Hidden Yuan Society was offering even more money. When did they become this generous? Ning Jia explained that the money was obviously not being offered for free. An elder of the Hidden Yuan Society insisted on meeting Ning Yuanxian personally. Ning Yuanxian immediately understood that there had to be conditions attached. Half an hour later, Hidden Yuan Society elder Xu Buotao formally entered the palace. The old man had managed the society's affairs in Yu for more than 20 years. Xu Buotao began to bow, but Ning Yuanxian immediately stopped him. "You are more than 10 years older than I am. There is no need for these formalities." Xu Buotao did not waste time either. "We are indeed willing to lend the 3.5 million gold coins, but the Hidden Yuan Society has one request." The request was simple, but enormous. "We want the manufacturing formula for glass mirrors." The conditions offered by the Hidden Yuan Society were extremely tempting. They were willing to lend the 3.5 million gold coins at almost no cost, while also making major concessions on Yu's previous debts. But Ning Yuanxian rejected the offer almost immediately. "That formula belongs to Shen Lang, not me. I have no right to trade away something that belongs to him." Then he dismissed the elder. The moment Xu Buotao left, Ning Yuanxian became angrier the more he thought about it. "Does everyone think I am old and sick now, so anyone can come here and pressure me?" he shouted in anger. "Go tell Shen Lang that this time he has to win back some dignity for me. Do not let the whole world look down on us old men." But the moment he said it, Ning Yuanxian changed his mind. "Forget it. There is no need to tell him. That brat already understands perfectly well." He then ordered Nangong Ao to prepare 50,000 troops for possible reinforcement. Ning Yuanxian looked into the distance. "Shen Lang, Ning Zheng, this time, let me see whether you can shock the entire world." At the northern park hunting ground, the new army continued endlessly repeating the most basic sword movements. Chop, chop, chop. Their movements had become so synchronized that they looked like a single person. After the transformation, the blank bloodline soldiers developed enormous appetites. Every man consumed huge amounts of meat, vegetables, and fruit, then needed medicinal baths after training to recover. Kui Chen calculated the cost of the past 3 months and nearly felt physical pain. This army is literally being built out of gold. But when he looked at the results, he had to admit that it was worth every coin. Another 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Only a few days remained before the border hunt. Once all 2,300 plus soldiers assembled, Shen Lang announced the first elimination test. Only 2,000 can enter the battle, so 300 must be eliminated. You each get 1 strike. If you cannot cut through the wooden post, you are out. A few hours later, even Shen Lang was left speechless. Every single one of the more than 2,300 soldiers had cut through the post with 1 strike. Forget the elimination for now. Test the heavy armor. Soon, a complete suit of 50 kg steel armor was brought out. It had been specially forged by the Jin family for the new army. The test was equally brutal and simple. One soldier wore the armor while another raised a heavy sword and struck him with full force. The heavy sword crashed into the armor with a deafening impact, but when Shenlang saw the result, he became excited. The armor had successfully endured the heavy strike, meaning his soldiers might not even need large shields. Thousands of monsters in full heavy armor, each swinging an enormous blade and advancing together, would be a nightmare for Chu. Early the next morning, Ning Yuanxian prepared to personally travel to the border hunt. The people around him were clearly worried. "Your Majesty, are you really going yourself? Did you not already leave this matter to Ning Zheng?" "But Your Majesty, your health." Ning Yuanxian waved them off immediately. "My body is perfectly strong. Stop frightening yourselves. Li Sun, let's go." The royal procession officially began moving. "Depart." 5,000 imperial guards formed up behind the royal carriage and left the palace in a massive procession. Outside the palace, Ning Jing had already been waiting for some time. Li Sun spoke on Ning Yuanxian's behalf. "Marquis of Chongping, rise." Ning Jing reported. "Royal father, the 2,000 new soldiers for the border hunt are fully assembled. Would you like to inspect them?" Ning Yuanxian gave a simple answer. "No need." The officials who had come to see them off immediately began mocking the new army. "So these are the 2,000 useless men Shenlang gathered? They are wearing coarse cloth and do not even have armor." The longer they looked, the more ridiculous it seemed. "Where are their weapons? What kind of real soldiers travel without weapons? And look at their eyes. Every one of them looks completely dull." Ning Yuanxian had no interest in listening any longer. "Enough, let's go." Ning Jing immediately ordered. "Everyone, board the carriages." The 2,000 new soldiers actually began boarding the waiting carriages one after another. That completely shocked the watching officials. No armor and no weapons was already ridiculous, but they do not even walk. The imperial guards are marching on foot while these recruits ride in carriages. One official became so angry that he wanted to confront them, but someone stopped him. "Forget it. They are just cannon fodder being sent to die. Do not expect too much from them. Set out." The enormous procession officially left the capital and began the journey toward the Yuechu border. Inside the royal carriage, Ning Yuanxian had only one thought. "Shenlang, do not disappoint me." The moment the convoy left the city, commoners along the road began talking. "So these are the new soldiers going to the border hunt?" The ridicule quickly became harsher. Some said the soldiers were simply being sent to die, while others even mocked Ning Yuanxian's supposed stroke and used current troubles. Even the accompanying imperial guards began feeling resentful. "We are imperial guards and we have to march, so why do these useless recruits get to ride?" After leaving the capital region, the procession continued northwest. Before long, the army entered the western defense zone controlled by the Zhong family. Western Army commander and Zhong family patriarch Zhong Yao personally came to receive Ning Yuanxian. After entering the royal carriage, Zhong Yao formally paid his respects. "Royal brother, it has been more than 10 years since we last met." Despite the long separation, the atmosphere between them was far from warm. Ning Yuanxian gave him only a restrained compliment. "You have carried out my orders reasonably well over the years. There is no great merit, but you have at least worked hard." He then asked directly whether Zhong Yao could hold the line if the situation worsened after the border hunt and Chu launched a full attack. Zhong Yao could only answer, "Your servant will give his utmost effort." But inside, he was deeply unhappy. To him, the border hunt looked like an opportunity being handed to Chu, and Ning Yuanxian's personal arrival had forced him to leave his normal military duties just to provide an escort. Ning Yuanxian had no desire to continue the conversation. "Enough, I am tired." Zhong Yao could only take his leave. After Zhong Yao left, Ning Yuanxian continued discussing the Zhong family patriarch with the people beside him. In his eyes, Bian Shao possessed genuine pride, while Zhong Yao carried more of an air of superiority. Even now, Zhong Yao still dreamed of connecting himself to the Great Flame Imperial clan. To him, people seemed naturally divided into ranks. Ning Yuanxian actually felt that true pride was more like Shenlang's, ignoring status and only showing respect to those he personally cared about. After leaving the Zhong family's defense zone, the royal procession continued traveling for several more days. At last, they reached the Yuechu border. Ning Yuanxian had deliberately arrived 3 days early. Envoys from Wu, Chang, and the surrounding powers also began arriving one after another, and hundreds of observers gathered at the border. The final delegation to arrive represented the Great Flame Empire. The person responsible for presiding over and witnessing this border hunt was Prince Lien. Prince Lien soon met Ning Yuanxian in private. From his point of view, you had almost no chance of winning, so he truly could not understand why Ning Yuanxian had come personally to gamble on this battle. Then Prince Lien brought up Jin Jun in the south. Some people within the Great Flame Empire were now arguing that if Jin Jun unified the Sand Barbarian tribes and officially founded a new state, the empire could recognize his regime. Ning Yuanxian immediately mentioned Jin Jun's connection to the Great Tribulation Temple. Prince Lien merely replied calmly, "The times have changed." Prince Lien then asked an even more direct question. "If you really lose this time, will you follow the agreement and drive Ning Zheng and Shenlang out of you?" Ning Yuanxian answered without hesitation, "Of course." But inside, Ning Yuanxian understood something even more clearly. As long as it served the interests of the Great Flame Empire, people and forces that had once been unacceptable could suddenly become acceptable again. And on the day before the border hunt, the King of Chu finally arrived. Prince Lien personally hosted the welcoming banquet. The King of Yu, the King of Chu, and envoys from all sides finally sat together at the same table. The moment the King of Chu saw Ning Yuanxian, he smiled and asked about his health. Ning Yuanxian immediately shot back. You are more than 10 years younger than me. Why do you somehow look older? The King of Chu laughed and said that everyone was getting old. Then he deliberately praised Ning Yuanxian's sons and summoned his own crown prince to come forward and pay respects. The Chu crown prince stepped forward and bowed to Prince Lien and Ning Yuanxian. Ning Yuanxian only needed one look to see that the Chu crown prince's ability and position were both extremely secure. That only made Ning Yuanxian feel more frustrated. His own crown prince and Ning Qi were fighting more viciously by the day, while the King of Chu had none of these succession problems. The King of Chu soon shifted his gaze toward Ning Jing. "And which outstanding son of yours is this? He looks somewhat unfamiliar." Before Ning Yuanxian could answer, Ning Jing stepped forward and bowed. "I am Ning Jing, 5th Prince of Yu. Greetings to the King of Chu and the Crown Prince of Chu." The banquet ended in an atmosphere filled with veiled insults. Ning Yuanxian maintained the appearance of a gravely ill and powerless ruler from beginning to end, while the King of Chu grew more and more pleased. Early the next morning, the rulers of the various states formally carried out the ceremonial offering to heaven. After the ceremony, Prince Lien confirmed the rules one final time. "King of Yu, you truly intend to send only 2,000 men against Chu's 5,000? Ning Yuanxian did not change his answer. "That is correct. 2,000. The stakes of the border hunt were laid out before everyone once again. Large stretches of border territory, 23 fortresses, and 800,000 gold coins were all on the line. The losing side would pay an enormous price," Prince Lien publicly announced. Witnessed by all nations, the Yuechu border hunt is about to begin. But just as both armies prepared to enter the field, the King of Chu suddenly smiled. "Since everyone is already gathered here, why not play a game of chess before the battle?" Ning Yuanxian immediately reminded him that there had never been any literary contest in the original agreement. The King of Chu laughed and said the army still needed time to prepare, so one chess game would not delay anything. Ning Yuanxian continued refusing on the grounds of poor health. The King of Chu only pressed harder, saying he had brought a famous endgame that even Chu's greatest experts could not solve. "Set up the chessboard." With those words, the people around them finally sensed that something was wrong. The unfinished position was soon placed before everyone. Many envoys immediately began wondering what the King of Chu was truly planning. Ning Yuanxian looked down once, and his expression changed. This was the famous endgame publicly displayed for years by Horizon Sea Pavilion, a puzzle no one had been able to solve. The surrounding observers immediately understood how ruthless the King of Chu was being. He did not merely want to defeat you in battle. He wanted to humiliate Ning Yuanxian publicly before the fighting even began. The King of Chu raised the stakes again. "If you solve it, I will personally beat the war drum for you. But if you fail, then you must personally beat the drum for Chu." People on Prince Lien's side pretended to advise the King of Chu not to bully the sick King of Yu, but even their words kept bringing up Ning Yuanxian's supposed stroke. Some people even began sarcastically wondering whether Ning Yuanxian's mind had been affected by his illness as well. Ning Yuanxian sat there looking weak, but inside he was almost cursing out loud. "Do these bastards really think one stroke made my brain stop working too?" Shen Lang had been standing quietly nearby, but he had already seen through the King of Chu's intentions completely. After glancing at the chessboard, Shen Lang almost wanted to laugh. This so-called unsolvable endgame was nowhere near as terrifying as everyone imagined. Just as Ning Yuanxian was preparing to respond, Ning Jing suddenly stepped forward. "Royal father, allow me to play this game in your place." The King of Chu and Prince Lien never expected Ning Jing to volunteer, but from their point of view, Ning Jing was already the scapegoat for the border hunt anyway. Losing one more chess game would not change much. The King of Chu immediately agreed. If Ning Jing could truly solve the endgame and win, then the King of Chu would personally beat the drum and the Chu Crown Prince would sing publicly. The wager was finalized, and the chess game officially began. The Chu Crown Prince played white. Ning Jing played black. Black moved first, yet almost everyone around them already assumed Ning Jing would lose. Many people were already waiting to laugh. How could a prince with no reputation for chess suddenly solve Horizon Sea Pavilion's legendary endgame? But after several moves, the mocking voices gradually disappeared. Ning Jing had not collapsed at all. In fact, the more he played, the steadier he became. After a few more moves, the expressions of the spectators changed completely. The game was developing in a way none of them had expected. Only a few minutes later, even the Chu side could no longer sit comfortably. The King of Chu stared at the board, unable to understand how his own son was slowly being pushed into a losing position. Finally, someone realized what was really happening. The Chu Crown Prince had not made some foolish mistake. The supposedly unsolvable endgame itself had actually been broken open by Ning Jing. Horizon Sea Pavilion only released a new top-level endgame every few years. Anyone who could solve one was qualified to receive an honor scholars across the world dreamed of, and this particular endgame had remained unsolved for at least 5 years. No one expected the person who finally broke it would be Ning Jing, the prince everyone had always looked down on. The Chu Crown Prince saw the position becoming worse and tried to save face for both sides. Since things have reached this point, why not call the game a draw? Ning Jing refused immediately. immediately. Since they had already played this far, there had to be a real winner. Soon, the game ended completely. The chess contest between you and Chu was over. You had won. The King of Chu's expression was already ugly, but he still forced out a smile. The King of You truly raised a good son. Then he tried to take a drink and move on, but Shenlang stepped forward immediately. Your Majesty, King of Chu, do not drink just yet. Have you and your crown prince forgotten something? Chu official Wang Huili immediately shouted. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to speak here? Shenlang recognized him at once. Lord Wang, you forgot me already? During the Yuechu negotiations, you and I sat at the same table. Then Shenlang deliberately brought up the old incident in which Wang Huili had been beaten. He even mocked the changes in the man's face and beard. Shenlang continued mercilessly. Lord Wang, with so little beard left, if being an official ever stops working out, you might fit into the palace rather well. After leaving Wang Huili speechless with rage, Shenlang turned back toward the King of Chu. The wager was clear. The King of Chu beats the drum, and the Chu crown prince sings. The Chu side immediately fell silent. They had all been eager to gamble before, but now that they had actually lost, no one wanted to honor the agreement. Shenlang gave them no chance to escape. A ruler's word cannot be treated as a joke. Surely the mighty King of Chu is not going to deny what he just promised. Prince Lian then looked toward Ningjing. Since Ningjing had solved the Horizon Sea Pavilion endgame, they could send word and allow him to receive the highest honor associated with it. To everyone's surprise, Ningjing refused. Shenlang's relationship with Horizon Sea Pavilion had already broken down, and Ningjing had no interest in begging them for recognition at a time like this. The Chu side still tried to blur the earlier wager and quietly move past it. Yu's response was direct. If the King of Chu had so little credibility, then there was no point continuing the border hunt at all. The King of Chu accused you of treating national affairs like a game, but you immediately answered. If even a king's own spoken promise can be broken, why should anyone trust the agreements signed afterward? The King of Chu was completely cornered. In the end, he could only grit his teeth and accept the wager. In front of everyone, the King of Chu personally walked to the war drum on the high platform. After he struck it 3 times, the Chu crown prince had no choice but to sing 3 lines in public. The scene was even recorded on the spot by the historians. On that date of the Great Flame calendar, the King of Chu personally beat the war drum 3 times for the King of You. Once the farce ended, the real border hunt could finally begin. Maps, contracts, and all the stakes from both sides were brought onto the high platform. Boxes of valuables and documents were placed in front of the witnesses. Both sides began checking each item one by one. Every important document and asset had to be verified under the supervision of the other states. Once everything was checked, both Yu and Chu confirmed that the stakes were valid. Prince Lian still offered one final warning. Blades have no eyes. You are both feudal states under the empire. It would be best not to damage relations more than necessary. But things had already gone too far. The arrow was already on the string. There was no turning back. Prince Lian formally announced, the Yuechu border hunt begins now. The war drums sounded. A line of armored boots marched into the hunting ground. Chu's army entered first. The soldiers wore heavy armor and advanced in perfect formation. One glance was enough to see that these were battle-hardened elites. A full 2,000 Chu heavy infantry entered the field. Their pressure was completely different from that of ordinary soldiers. The watching envoys immediately recognized them. This force had fought for years and won almost every campaign. They were one of Chu's true elite units. Some observers even claimed their combat strength was comparable to Yu's Imperial Guards. A few people thought the King of Chu had shown restraint by sending only 2,000 heavy infantry. Then the ground suddenly began to tremble. Behind them appeared another 3,000 Chu heavy cavalry. The spectators erupted. 5,000 against 2,000 was already excessive, and now 3,000 of them are heavy cavalry against infantry. Then it was finally Yu's turn to enter. 2,000 Yu soldiers enter the field. The moment everyone looked over, they almost failed to react. These men were still wearing coarse cloth. There was no visible heavy armor and no impressive weapons. The 2,000 men simply walked forward in silence. Compared with Chu's fully equipped army, they looked almost embarrassingly poor. All the previous rumors suddenly seemed true. Did Shenlang and Ningjing really gather 2,000 fools just to use them as cannon fodder? Even Yu's Western army officers could not stand watching. One general dropped to his knees and requested permission to fight, hoping Ning Yuanxian would replace these recruits with real Western army elites. They feared that Shenlang's recklessness would not only lose the battle, but also destroy the morale of the entire border army. The King of Chu became even more pleased. He openly urged Ning Yuanxian to replace the troops before you lost too badly. But Ning Yuanxian had no intention of changing anyone. Enough, let us begin early and finish early. Just when everyone thought the Yu army would enter the field like this, Kuichen suddenly gave an order from horseback. Entire army, change equipment. The prepared carriages immediately rolled forward. The real equipment had been hidden inside all along. Black suits of heavy armor were rapidly unloaded. To prevent rust, Shenlang had even ordered a special coating to be applied to the armor. The distant observers still refused to believe what they were seeing. Some even wondered whether the supposed heavy armor and giant blades were fake props made from wood. Half an hour later, the transformation was complete. Kuichen rode to the front of the army. Assemble, form ranks. The instant the 2,000 soldiers reappeared, the entire field went silent. Black heavy armor and enormous enormous blades had turned them into a completely different army. Every soldier wore a matching face guard. The oversized heavy blades alone looked almost too heavy for an ordinary man to lift. But the most frightening part was the formation. The steps, spacing, and movements of 2,000 soldiers were almost perfectly synchronized. Even so, some people remained stubborn. A beautiful formation means nothing. These are still recruits trained for only 3 months. The moment real fighting begins, they will collapse. The rules were simple. The first side to capture the enemy's military flag would win. The commanders on both sides gave their orders. Advance. 2 formations of 2,000 infantry began moving toward each other. The recruits maintained their square formation the entire time. Not a single man moved too quickly or fell behind. The distance between the two armies kept shrinking. 200 meters. 150. 100. The Chu commander suddenly raised his hand. Stop. Archers, prepare. The rear ranks immediately drew their bows to full tension. Countless arrowheads pointed toward Yu's army. Fire. The Chu commander could not stop himself from smiling. The enemy did not even have shields. Charging forward like this was basically suicide. The spectators felt the same way. These men had trained for only 3 months and did not even carry bows. They probably had never learned to use them. Then a storm of arrows fell from the sky and covered the Yu formation, but the Yu soldiers did not dodge. The arrows struck their black armor and produced only a dense series of metallic impacts. The smile disappeared from the Chu commander's face. How is that possible? What is that armor made of? After the shock passed, he immediately changed tactics. Form the shield wall. Spears ready. Their armor may be hard, but I refuse to believe they can break through this. Massive shields were slammed into the ground and locked together. Long spears pushed through the gaps. The formation instantly became a steel hedgehog. The Chu crown prince on the high platform became excited. For the glory of Chu, kill them. Do not let a single one through. But the Yu army did not slow down. They continued walking directly toward the shield wall. The Chu soldiers almost laughed. These men really are fools. Are they planning to walk straight onto our spear points? Everyone expected the Yu formation to be stopped in the next instant. But when the two sides finally collided, everyone froze. The spears struck the heavy armor and failed to pierce it. Instead, one spear after another bent or snapped. At the exact moment the Chu army was most shocked, Kui-chen raised his hand. Slash. The 2,000 recruits who had waited for months finally received the chance to use their blades. Every soldier raised his heavy sword at the same time. 2,000 blades came down together. The front line of Chu's shield wall took the full impact. The formation that had seemed unbreakable was torn open almost immediately. Yu's army advanced through the gap without slowing down. The Chu commander stared in disbelief. His elite heavy infantry looked shockingly fragile against these so-called recruits. The Yu soldiers raised their blades again. Slash. Another synchronized strike crashed down. The Chu formation broke even further. The Yu square continued moving forward. The battle was rapidly becoming completely one-sided. Before long, Chu's 2,000 heavy infantry could no longer hold. Only a small number managed to flee. Most had already lost the ability to continue fighting, but Yu's recruits did not break formation to chase them. They quickly reassembled and stood quietly as if nothing had happened. From above, the Yu formation still looked terrifyingly intact. The Chu battle line that had once stood in front of them was completely gone. The envoys from the other states were stunned. They could not believe these were recruits who had trained for only 3 months. Even Yu's own generals, who had previously asked to replace them, could no longer speak. Is this really our army? The officers from the Zhong family were equally shocked. They had assumed Shenlang's men might at best fight stubbornly to the end. No one expected them to crush Chu's elite infantry head-on. Everyone who had been waiting to laugh was now silent. All the earlier ridicule had turned into disbelief. Finally, some people began to understand. These soldiers were not useless at all. Their endless repetition of basic chopping movements had never been meaningless training. The atmosphere on Chu's high platform changed completely. No one had imagined the first engagement would end in such a humiliating defeat. A Chu minister hurriedly looked at the King of Chu. Your Majesty, what do we do now? The King of Chu's face turned dark. A battle he had believed was certain victory had collapsed in front of him. Fortunately, someone beside him immediately reminded him, Your Majesty, the battle is not over. We still have 3,000 heavy cavalry. The King of Chu's eyes lit up again. He stood abruptly. Heavy cavalry, charge. The envoys erupted again. 3,000 heavy cavalry against 2,000 infantry was beyond unfair. But Chu no longer cared. The 3,000 cavalry accelerated together, making the ground tremble. The cavalry commander raised his weapon and roared, Charge! At the very front, 2 abnormally large figures rushed ahead of the cavalry. They were Tuda and Tuir, the 2 terrifying warriors under the Chu crown prince. Both were built like iron towers, and their enormous weapons looked almost impossible for normal men to use. Right behind them, another silver-armored general charged forward, the famous Chu general Hu Yanxia. Like Kui-chen, Hu Yanxia had once been one of the highest-ranking martial examination champions. More importantly, he also possessed a special bloodline and strength far beyond ordinary generals. When the envoys saw Tuda, Tuir, and Hu Yanxia all enter at once, they were shocked. The King of Chu had thrown nearly every major trump card onto the battlefield. Then someone suddenly pointed toward Yu's side. Wait, what is that charging out from the Yu army? Big Fool appeared in specially made black armor, carrying an absurdly huge tree trunk as a weapon while charging charging directly toward Chu's heavy cavalry. His target was obvious. Tuda and Tuer were his opponents. The other figure charging beside Big Fool was Kui-chen. As commander, he normally would not need to fight personally, but only he had the strength to stop an opponent like Huyen-Xia. In the blink of an eye, Kui-chen and Huyen-Xia collided head-on. Their weapons clashed and sparks exploded between them. At the same time, Big Fool crashed into Tuda and Tuer. The three monster-like fighters immediately began a brutal struggle. Two separate battles between elite fighters erupted at once, but the real outcome of the army battle would still be decided at the center. As Chu's heavy cavalry drew closer, a command suddenly rang through Yu's formation. Lan Wan, who was directing the front line, raised his hand. Entire army, halt! 2,000 men instantly planted their feet and raised their heavy swords high. The formation suddenly looked like a wall of steel. Lan Wan stared at the charging cavalry. First form, strike the riders. Second form, strike the horses. The spectators thought they were insane. Do they really intend to use infantry to stop 3,000 heavy cavalry head-on? But the Chu cavalry had already accelerated too far to stop. Kill! The cavalry finally crashed into the Yu front line. Almost everyone expected the formation to shatter instantly, but the Yu heavy swords came down at the exact same moment. The front edge of the cavalry charge was abruptly stopped. A second wave of heavy blades followed immediately. Huge gaps appeared in the charging cavalry line. The Yu soldiers did not retreat a single step. The terrifying momentum of 3,000 heavy cavalry had actually been stopped head-on. Shenlang's eyes lit up from the high platform. This was the army he had personally built with enormous amounts of time and money. Their greatest advantage had never been strength alone. They did not possess the same fear of death that caused ordinary soldiers to panic and collapse under a cavalry charge. Combined with their frightening concentration, they could lock onto the target directly in front of them. Every strike was clean and decisive. The impact of the warhorses could not completely break their line. The transformed bodies of these soldiers were far stronger than normal humans. Even Huyen-Xia, who was fighting Kui-chen nearby, could not help glancing toward the army battle. What kind of army is this? Are those bodies and that willpower even human? Seeing the cavalry charge fail, the Chu commander desperately changed tactics. Dismount, charge on foot, attack them from above. Large numbers of cavalrymen jumped down and rushed toward the Yu formation, but without the momentum of their horses, the difference in raw strength became even more obvious. The heavy swords came down again. A Chu soldier could barely understand what was happening. How is this possible? Meanwhile, Big Fool's fight against Tuda and Tuer had become even more violent. Tuer took advantage of Big Fool being occupied with Tuda and struck him hard from behind. Big Fool merely paused, then slowly turned his head. The moment Tuer saw his expression, his confidence disappeared. This is bad. I think I hit the wrong person. The next second, Big Fool swung the enormous tree trunk horizontally. Tuer was sent flying. Tuda saw his brother thrown away and shouted, "Second brother!" But before he could rush over, Big Fool's tree trunk swung back again. Tuda was sent flying as well. The brothers crashed to the ground one after another. Tuda hurriedly asked whether Tuer could still fight. Tuer forced himself back up. "I am fine. We underestimated him." Again, Shenlang watched the three of them fight from the high platform and almost laughed. This was not really a contest of technique. It was a competition over who could take more punishment and who possessed greater raw strength. Then Shenlang looked toward the other battle. The style there was completely different. Kui-chen and Huyen-Xia were engaged in a true martial arts duel. Kui-chen and Huyen-Xia exchanged attack after attack. Their weapons clashed repeatedly, and after dozens of moves, neither side held an obvious advantage. The more Huyen-Xia fought, the more excited he became. "It has been a long time since I met an opponent who could truly match me." Kui-chen respected Huyen-Xia just as much. This man was not only highly skilled, but also fought directly and honorably without relying on underhanded tricks. After briefly adjusting their breathing, the two charged at each other again. This round was even more intense than the last. The envoys were completely absorbed. The new army against heavy cavalry, Big Fool against the two brothers, and Kui-chen against Huyen-Xia were all unfolding at the same time. Around 15 minutes later, Shenlang could already see the result of one battle. Tuda and Tuer were clearly losing stamina, but Big Fool looked almost the same as when the fight began. Big Fool still held the enormous tree trunk without even breathing heavily. The two brothers were panting continuously. What kind of monster is this? We have been fighting this long and his strength has not dropped at all. During the fight, Big Fool somehow ended up right beside Chu's military flag. The Chu crown prince panicked on the high platform. "This is bad. If he takes the flag, we lose immediately." Big Fool looked at the flagpole, then at the massive tree trunk in his own hands. "This pole is too thin. It would be useless as a weapon." Shenlang covered his face from the high platform. "Of course it is, Big Fool. The enemy flag is right in front of him and he is complaining that the pole is too thin." But Shenlang was not worried. Elsewhere, Chu's 3,000 heavy cavalry had already been nearly destroyed by Yu's new army. The remaining Chu soldiers who could still move had completely lost their nerve. They threw away equipment and fled. Only then did Wangda, who was leading the new army, notice the pain in his chest. A war horse had struck him earlier and he suspected 2 ribs were broken. But to him, as long as the formation had remained intact, it was only a minor injury. Wangda looked up and suddenly noticed Chu's military flag nearby. His thought process was far more practical than Big Fool's. "Once we take that flag, we win completely." Wangda walked beneath beneath the flag and raised his heavy sword. With one strike, he cut through the thick flagpole. The Chu military flag fell. The army battle of the border hunt had officially been decided. Yu's side erupted in thunderous cheers. Victory! But Big Fool still had not stopped. He continued chasing Tuda and Tuir with the tree trunk. The two brothers were exhausted, but they still refused to surrender. If you have the ability, beat us down, but do not expect us to admit defeat. Just as Big Fool prepared to continue, the withdrawal horn sounded across the hunting ground. He froze for a moment. It is over. After confirming the battle had truly ended, Big Fool finally put down the tree trunk. Fine, I will stop beating you. You can go. Meanwhile, Kui Chen and Huyan Xie still had not finished their duel. Both men gathered the last of their strength and launched one final attack. After a violent clash, they finally separated. Huyan Xie staggered and dropped to one knee. After a long silence, he admitted, I lost. Kui Chen was also nearly exhausted, but he still bowed respectfully. You let me win. I learned a great deal from this battle. If fate allows, we will meet again. With Huyan Xie's surrender, Kui Chen's duel was officially decided. You had won another battle. The entire Yu camp finally erupted. 2,000 new soldiers, outnumbered and underestimated, had won a battle everyone believed was impossible. Ning Jing walked below the high platform and bowed to Ning Yuanxian. Royal father, your son has fortunately not failed the mission. Prince Lian then walked to the center and formally announced the result on behalf of the Great Flame Empire and all the witnesses. The Yuechu border hunt is over. Yu wins. The moment those words were spoken, Yu's officials and imperial guards exploded with excitement. Long live Yu. Long live the king of Yu. According to the traditions of the border hunt, the ruler of the winning side still had to personally raise and wave the royal flag. Ning Jing held the Yu royal banner with both hands and brought it before Ning Yuanxian. The king of Chu was already miserable enough after the defeat, but when he saw this final ceremony, a new thought suddenly appeared. After all, everyone believed Ning Yuanxian was so ill that he could barely walk. Could a man in that condition really raise such a heavy royal flag? The king of Chu quietly waited for one final chance to laugh. If Ning Yuanxian could not even lift his own kingdom's banner, perhaps Chu could recover at least a little dignity. Ning Yuanxian said nothing. He simply reached out and gripped the flagpole. His hands slowly tightened. Then, in the next instant, the supposedly dying Ning Yuanxian suddenly exploded with strength that no gravely ill man should possess. He lifted the enormous Yu royal flag high into the air as it opened in the wind. Ning Yuanxian laughed loudly. Yu has won this battle openly and honorably. The king of Chu and the envoys from the other states stared in shock. There was not the slightest sign of a dying man in that movement. They finally began to realize that Ning Yuanxian may have deceived them from the very beginning. Ning Yuanxian turned toward Ning Jing. Ning Jing, well done. You did not disappoint me. Ning Jing was overwhelmed when he heard his father's approval. Everyone had once treated him and this new army like a joke, but now they had finally proved themselves with a real victory. Ning Yuanxian publicly praised the 2,000 new soldiers. This army was no longer merely a trump card for Ning Zheng and Shenlang. It had become a force that the entire kingdom of Yu could truly be proud of. Then Ning Yuanxian officially gave them a name, the Nirvana Army. From that moment on, this army that had been reborn from a group everyone called useless would become one of Yu's sharpest blades. Ning Yuanxian raised the royal banner high, completely sweeping away the weak and sickly appearance he had shown before. This victory was also a declaration to every state under heaven that the king of Yu had returned in full strength. The entire Yu camp erupted in celebration. The border hunt that everyone had expected Yu to lose had turned into one of the most beautiful victories in the kingdom's history. Then the foreign envoys noticed something even more shocking. Ning Yuanxian did not look like a man who had suffered a stroke at all. The king of Yu had clearly been acting the entire time. The king of Chu finally understood. From the moment the border hunt had been proposed, Ning Yuanxian and Shenlang had probably already prepared this entire trap. He was the one who had been led into it step by step. The more he thought about it, the colder his back felt. Ning Yuanxian was ruthless, Shenlang was even more ruthless, and Ning Yuanxian was still capable of pretending to be weak even now. The king of Chu finally demanded an answer from Ning Yuanxian. Had he prepared all of this from the moment the border hunt was first proposed, simply waiting to humiliate Chu today? Ning Yuanxian did not respond to his anger at all. In front of Prince Lian and all the foreign envoys, he simply reminded the king of Chu that the result had already been decided, and it was now time to honor the agreement. Prince Lian finally understood as well. Ning Yuanxian had fooled even him. In a scheme this layered had Shenlang's fingerprints all over it. The blow to Chu was far too heavy. 5,000 elite soldiers had been defeated by only 2,000 recruits, and the king of Chu had lost face in front of every major power. As the official witness, Prince Lian declared the result of the border hunt valid. Both sides had to immediately adjust the border according to the agreement, and Chu had to withdraw from every territory it had lost. Only then did Chu's ministers truly understand the consequences. 23 fortresses and a large stretch of borderland would officially become part of Yu from that day onward. The king of Chu still wanted to struggle, but Prince Lian told him directly that the Great Flame Empire would guarantee the safety of the withdrawal. All he needed to do was issue the order. The king of Chu's expression became darker than ever. He had ruled for more than 30 years and had never suffered such humiliation in front of so many people. He suddenly understood why the king of Wu had felt felt so miserable months earlier. The difference was that now it was his turn, and the humiliation Chu had suffered was even worse. In the end, the king of Chu could only grit his teeth and order the withdrawal. Chu's army had to leave the newly redrawn border and truly surrender the land it had lost. But it still was not over. Prince Lian immediately reminded the king of Chu about the second condition. He had to publicly read the written declaration admitting Chu's fault. Someone suggested letting the Chu crown prince read it in his place, but that would only make the world think the king of Chu lacked the courage to take responsibility after losing. He picked up the declaration and his expression became even worse. The document forced him to publicly admit that Chu had been the side responsible for the earlier Yuechu border war. What made it even more unbearable was the length. The declaration was absurdly long. Looking at the dense text, the king of Chu was already cursing whoever had drafted it, but with envoys from every state watching, he had no room to refuse. The king of Chu could only stand on the platform and read the entire declaration line by line. The envoys below even shouted for him to speak louder so everyone could hear clearly. Every joke felt like another slap across the king of Chu's face. Ning Yuanxian listened from the side with enormous satisfaction. Even forcing the king of Wu to bow in the past had never felt as good as personally watching the king of Chu suffer today. At that moment, his opinion of Shenlang rose even higher. Without this young man, you could never have created such a situation in such a short time. It took the king of Chu a full half-hour to finish reading the nearly 2,000-word declaration. At that point, the person he probably wanted to see most was whoever had written the thing, just so he could settle the score. Then came the third part of the agreement, war compensation. Chu had lost, so it had to hand over every piece of gold promised in the contract. Large amounts of gold and the related documents were brought forward and counted publicly in front of the envoys. The king of Chu had no choice but to personally hand the compensation over to Ning Yuanxian. Every piece of gold felt like another reminder of how badly he had lost. The surrounding observers quickly noticed that Ning Yuanxian sounded polite, but nearly every sentence carried a hidden sting that the king of Chu could not openly object to. Ning Yuanxian even smiled and thanked the king of Chu, as if Chu were not paying compensation at all, but voluntarily giving you a generous gift. Prince Lian ordered the officials from both sides to continue verifying the amount. Everything had to be counted on the spot so there would be no dispute later. Another half-hour passed before all 56,000 jin of gold were fully transferred. The king of Chu finally asked whether everything was over now. He turned to leave, but Ning Yuanxian suddenly stepped forward warmly and supported him by the arm, telling him to walk carefully and not trip on the stairs. The king of Chu tried to pull his arm away, but Ning Yuanxian only supported him more firmly. On the surface it looked like kindness, but every step was another way of irritating him. The mighty king of Chu was escorted all the way down the platform as if he were the old and sick ruler. Inside, he was nearly exploding with rage. Once they reached the bottom, Shenlang came over with a smile to see him off and sincerely wished the king of Chu a safe journey. The king of Chu wanted nothing to do with him, but Shenlang casually added, "Come back again in 7 days." The reason was simple. 7 days later, all the border markers would be replaced. The land that had once belonged to Chu would officially become Yu territory. If the king of Chu returned then, it would truly be a nostalgic visit to his former land. Even the Chu crown prince could do nothing against Shenlang's mouth. Today, they had finally learned just how shameless and irritating he could be. The Chu delegation could not stay any longer. There was only one thing left to say: leave. But the king of Chu had not gone far before his body began to give out. A full day of rage and humiliation finally overwhelmed him. The king of Chu collapsed, and the people around him immediately panicked and rushed over to check on him. Meanwhile, Ning Yuanxian had already started dealing with the aftermath of victory. The first thing he did was ask Zhong Yao what he thought of the Nirvana army. Zhong Yao did not try to deny reality. He directly admitted that this army fully deserved to be called the strongest army in Yu. Ning Yuanxian then asked about the military funds still owed to the Zhong family's Western army. Ning Yuanxian immediately ordered additional funds to be allocated and all overdue military expenses to be repaid. Zhong Yao could only offer his formal thanks, but after giving him the money, Ning Yuanxian immediately became serious. The king of Chu had lost all face today. Once Jin Jun secured his position in the south, Chu might launch a full war against Yu. At that point, it could even develop into a 3-state war involving hundreds of thousands of troops. If the Western Front collapsed, not only would you suffer, but the Zhong family itself would be destroyed as well. Zhong Yao understood the weight of those words and immediately declared that as long as he remained alive, he would never allow the Western Front to fall easily. Once everything that needed to be said was finished, Ning Yuanxian waved him away and told Zhong Yao to return. He also needed rest, but Zhong Yao had barely taken a few steps when Ning Yuanxian suddenly called him back. "Brother Zhong Yao, what do you think of Ning Zheng?" Zhong Yao immediately heard the deeper meaning. This was not simply a question about Ning Zheng's personality. It clearly touched on the issue of succession. But Ning Yuanxian immediately withdrew the question. "Forget it. Pretend I never asked." The next day, Ning Yuanxian began the journey back to the capital. Along the way, everyone was still amazed at how Shenlang had managed to fool nearly everyone involved. Shenlang told Ning Yuanxian to stop speaking in riddles and simply say whatever he wanted to say. Ning Yuanxian could not stop smiling. Yesterday had probably probably been the most satisfying day he had experienced in 20 years. The ministers who thought he was dying were about to receive a wonderful surprise as well, especially the crown prince and Ning-chi. The two of them had fought more and more viciously while their father was supposedly bedridden. Their expressions when they discovered he was perfectly healthy would be priceless. The more Ning Yuanxian talked, the happier he became. He also believed Shenlang deserved most of the credit. Shenlang, however, said he could teach the king a few more phrases that were perfect for this kind of situation. Shenlang handed him a piece of paper filled with deliberately irritating phrases, and Ning Yuanxian burst out laughing. After he finished laughing, Ning Yuanxian turned to serious matters and asked Shenlang what reward he wanted. Shenlang immediately reminded him of the promise made earlier. If they won the border hunt, Ning Zheng's right to compete for the throne would be officially recognized. Ning Yuanxian said that condition would naturally be honored. Then he told Shenlang to ask for one more reward. Shenlang thought for a moment and asked for a ducal title. Ning Yuanxian instantly knew there had to be more to it. Under the Great Flame system, granting a duke title to someone outside the royal family was extremely rare and required truly extraordinary merit. He immediately asked, "This duke title is not for Ning Zheng again, is it?" Shenlang admitted it without hesitation. Ning Yuanxian refused to raise Ning Zheng that high right now. Ning Zheng had only recently started rising from the rank of marquis. Suddenly making him a duke would completely disrupt the balance at court. He told Shenlang to choose a reward for himself instead. Shenlang thought seriously for a long time and realized that he did not lack money, power, or much of anything else. For a moment, he genuinely could not think of something he wanted. Ning Yuanxian almost wanted to curse him. Other people would beg for such rewards, while Shenlang was standing there acting as if there was nothing worth asking for. In the end, Ning Yuanxian came up with something himself. He decided to arrange a marriage for Jin Mutsong. Shenlang immediately became interested. If the king was willing to act as matchmaker personally, then they might as well look for the most suitable young woman in the capital. One person immediately came to Shenlang's mind, Zhu Ning, the beloved granddaughter of Chancellor Zhu Hongzhu. She was famous throughout the capital for her talent, beauty, and character. Ning Yuanxian could not help staring at Shenlang after hearing the name. Zhu Ning was known as the capital's foremost talented young lady, and countless outstanding men had already been rejected by her family. But Shenlang insisted that Jin Mutsong should marry her. The more Ning Yuanxian listened, the more he felt Shenlang was deliberately giving him a difficult problem. Still, since he had already made the promise, Ning Yuanxian eventually agreed. Once they returned to the capital, he would personally visit the Zhu family and propose the marriage for Jin Mutsong. Shenlang was already looking forward to the scene. One was the most famous talented young lady in the capital, and the other was Jin Mutsong. The marriage alone would be enough to shock the entire city. Once the joking was over, Ning Yuanxian brought the conversation back to the military. What he cared about most was how many more soldiers at the level of the Nirvana army Shenlang could create. Shenlang's answer was not optimistic. The Jin family's stockpile of top-grade steel had almost been completely consumed by these 2,000 men, and this single army had already cost hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Even Ning Yuanxian was shocked by the cost. Shenlang explained that with enough time and resources, several thousand more soldiers could still be trained, but the next army had to be designed specifically for the true war to come. The current heavy-armored Nirvana army was nearly unbeatable on open plains, but Southern O was full of mountains, forests, valleys, and difficult roads. Dozens of kilograms of armor would become a serious burden there. That was why Shenlang had already started thinking about a second Nirvana army with a completely different role. Ning Yuanxian immediately asked, "What kind of troops?" Shenlang's answer was roughly 3,000 highly mobile elite archers. Every one of them would need exceptional range, accuracy, and sustained combat ability. Ning Yuanxian's first reaction was that it was impossible. An ordinary elite soldier was already impressive if he could consistently use a powerful bow, yet Shenlang wanted all 3,000 soldiers to use something even stronger. Shenlang had already calculated everything. Ordinary bows had an effective range of a little over 100 paces. If his new bow was completed, its effective attack range could be pushed beyond 200 paces. Ning Yuanxian immediately pointed out another problem. Even if someone could draw such a bow, firing dozens or even 100 shots in one battle would destroy the archer's arms. Shenlang agreed that ordinary human strength would not be enough. That was why he planned to change the bow itself and create a compound bow completely different from a traditional longbow. The key was a pulley system built into the bow. Once the string was drawn past a certain point, the amount of force needed to hold the bow at full draw would actually decrease. Combined with high-toughness steel and mechanical components, the bow could preserve enormous power while greatly reducing the strain of long aiming periods and repeated shooting. The greatest advantage of the Zero Bloodline people was their concentration. Once trained and equipped with these powerful bows and steel arrows, they could become another terrifying kind of battlefield machine. After hearing the entire plan, Ning Yuanxian immediately asked the most important question: how long before the second Nirvana army is ready? Shenlang estimated that it would take at least another half-year, but Ning Yuanxian was worried that Jin Jun in the south might not give you that much preparation time. The conversation then turned to the treasury. Shenlang had already heard that Ning Yuanxian had refused the Hidden Yuan Society's loan, throne because he would not surrender the glass mirror formula. Ning Yuanxian told him the kingdom was still short by 3 to 4 million gold coins. Shenlang responded with an even more outrageous promise. Give me half a month. I will earn 3 million gold coins for you. Ning Yuanxian's first reaction was that Shenlang planned to borrow from the Heavenly Tao Society again. He immediately warned him that the Heavenly Tao Society had already helped enough, and constant borrowing would eventually damage the relationship. Shenlang said he would not borrow from anyone this time, not the Hidden Yuan Society and not the Heavenly Tao Society. He would earn the full 3 million directly from the market. His condition remained the same. If he succeeded, Ning Jing would receive another promotion in rank. Ning Yuanxian did not believe him at all. 3 million in half a month without relying on either major merchant organization sounded less like business and more like robbery. Still, Shenlang had spoken with such confidence that Ning Yuanxian ultimately decided to let him try. Meanwhile, news of the border hunt finally reached the capital. At first, neither officials nor commoners believed that 2,000 recruits had truly defeated 5,000 Chu elites. But as one confirmed battle report after another arrived, everyone finally accepted the truth. This was not a rumor. You had truly won, and it had not been a narrow victory. Shenlang and Ning Zheng's 2,000 Nirvana soldiers had directly smashed Chu's 2,000 elite infantry and 3,000 heavy cavalry. The moment the news arrived, the factions of the Crown Prince and Ning Qi, who had been fighting each other viciously, suddenly became quiet. Many investigations and accusations seemed to disappear overnight, and the brothers' relationship miraculously improved. A few days later, Ning Yuanxian returned to the capital in triumph. All the civil and military officials went outside the city to welcome him, shouting their congratulations on the king's victorious return. But the moment everyone raised their heads, they quickly sensed something was wrong. The Ning Yuanxian standing before them looked full of energy. There was no sign of serious illness at all. Ning Yuanxian looked at all those shocked faces and burst out laughing. He even ordered everyone to raise their heads and take a good look at him. The officials could only stare at this supposed patient, growing more nervous by the second. They finally confirmed that Ning Yuanxian looked exactly the same as before his supposed illness. His royal presence, energy, and strength had all returned. At that point, who could fail to understand? The stroke and critical illness had been an act from beginning to end. Ning Yuanxian and Shenlang had not only fooled Chu, but had also used the opportunity to expose the Yu court. Ning Yuanxian understood that clearly too. The moment he had supposedly collapsed, countless officials immediately began looking for new masters. Now that he was back, those debts would be settled one by one. He produced a list that had already been prepared and ordered arrests on the spot. The Imperial Guards immediately moved forward and seized a number of officials named on the list. Some whose crimes had already been proven were punished immediately. Ning Yuanxian used the fastest possible method to remind everyone that his throne was nowhere near ready to be divided among his sons. The remaining officials trembled in fear. No one knew whether their own name would appear next. Some could not even endure the pressure and collapsed on the spot. The entire welcoming ceremony became so quiet that people were afraid to breathe. Once those people had been dealt with, Ning Yuanxian turned toward the crown prince and calmly praised him for working hard to handle state affairs while the king had supposedly been ill. Then he announced a new appointment. Ning Jing had earned enormous merit during the border hunt, so the current governor of Tianhua City would be removed. Ning Jing would formally take control of the capital's defenses, and his fief would be expanded as well. With the decree issued, Ning Jing now possessed genuine military and political authority of his own. The former governor of Tianhua City, Zhang Zhao, froze. He immediately understood that this was not a normal personnel change. Ning Yuanxian had publicly allowed Ning Jing to join the competition for the throne. What worried Zhang Zhao even more was whether his removal was connected to his earlier hostility toward Shenlang and his involvement in actions against Ning Zheng. Zhang Zhao came from a military family. He had fought in the Great Wuiwu War when he was young and had spent decades climbing to his current position. More importantly, he had always belonged to the Crown Prince's faction. Now, after finally reaching such a high position, he had been removed in an instant. Of course, he could not accept it easily, but someone quickly reminded him that keeping his position was no longer the main concern. Even the Crown Prince himself was beginning to face real danger. The balance at court had completely changed. The factions of the Crown Prince and Ning Qi no longer had the reckless confidence they had shown while Ning Yuanxian was supposedly dying. Ning Yuanxian did not waste any more time outside the city and returned directly to the palace with the officials. The next day, Shenlang was studying another list carefully. He was looking at lists of zero bloodline people collected from different regions. The previous search had found more than 2,300 zero bloodline people in the capital and nearby areas alone. The entire kingdom of Yu had a vastly larger population. Shenlang roughly estimated that there were at least several thousand, perhaps even more than 10,000, across the country. Household records were less complete in remote regions, so the true number could be far higher than official records suggested. These people had to be found and brought to the capital as quickly as possible. They were the most suitable recruits for the second Nirvana army. Little Bing was trying to get her daughter to sleep, but the little troublemaker was wide awake tonight and refused to close her eyes. Then Ning Yan showed up at the door and went straight for the kill. Saucy Bing, it's my turn tonight. Little Bing's face almost went dark on the spot. She immediately blamed the little brat in her arms. If you had gone to sleep earlier, mommy would have dragged daddy into bed already, and that big but would never have gotten her chance. Meanwhile, Ningjing had just taken over as governor of Tianhua City and was instantly buried in work. Shenlang might have held the title of chief secretary, but he refused to do everything for Ningjing. Clearly, he wanted Ningjing to learn how to carry the whole mess himself, and Ningjing really went all in. He practically lived in the governor's office, slept only 2 hours a day, and personally checked the city gates, barracks, and warehouses one by one. After working like that, he finally understood Shenlang's old point: if you have never investigated something yourself, do not rush to judge it. Shenlang watched Ningjing grind through the work and grew more impressed. At the very least, this guy was genuinely willing to get things done. Smart people love shortcuts, but running a kingdom often needs someone like Ningjing, who is willing to grind through every problem step by step. While Ningjing was busy fixing the capital, Ning Yuanxian was staring at the treasury accounts and getting another headache. They were running out of money again. The year was only 2 months old, yet the deficit was already ugly, and 2 more major wars were waiting to burn through even more gold. The more Ning Yuanxian calculated, the clearer it became. Yu's old financial system could not keep going like this. Reform was no longer optional. His idea was simple: cut noble privileges, reclaim mines and private troops, and bring profitable resources like salt and iron back under state control. That would obviously fatten the treasury, but with war about to start, provoking the nobles now could set the country on fire from the inside first. So Ning Yuanxian decided to deal with the enemies outside first, then settle the succession and reforms. The last thing he could allow was his own sons tearing you apart. Just as he was sitting there with a headache, another military report arrived. Nangong Ao had 50,000 troops, the Tianhua governor's office had another 30,000, and with Zhu Lin's forces, you could gather around 130,000 soldiers on the southern front. But Jin Jun also had 100,000 elite troops. 13 armies worth of men might hold the line, but if you wanted a real advantage, Chang needed to attack from the side. That reminded Ning Yuanxian of Big Fool. The guy had turned south halfway through the journey, obviously heading toward Chang just as the Chang queen was about to give birth. Ning Yuanxian thought very highly of this Chang queen. She was straightforward, steady, and respected by her people, and Chang already had a strong reason to stay friendly with you. The Chang queen had secretly sent word to Shenlang: if you needed money, all he had to do was ask. Chang had plenty of gold, but Ning Yuanxian refused. To him, an ally like Chang was worth far more than a few million gold coins. The more Ning Yuanxian thought about it, the more he felt that he was not the one who should be anxious. You had just humiliated the king of Chu, and its prestige was soaring. If anything, the hidden Yuan society should be the one coming to beg for business. After a long wait, Shu Buotao finally entered the palace. Ning Yuanxian opened by asking for 4 million gold coins, secured against salt tax revenue. Shu Buotao nearly twitched. How had the price gone up by another 500,000 already? But the hidden Yuan society was not lending for free. Their condition was that the crown prince had to negotiate in person. Ning Yuanxian understood immediately. The loan was only an excuse. What they really wanted was a hand inside Yu's succession struggle. Shu Buotao was certain Ning Yuanxian had no choice. 80,000 troops were already being mobilized. Without this money, what were the soldiers supposed to do? Stand around and live on air? The hidden Yuan society had already planned the next steps. Add one condition today: for Shenlang to hand over the glass mirror formula tomorrow, then keep squeezing from there. Ning Yuanxian heard enough and threw them out. He almost sent someone to pressure Shenlang about the promised 3 million gold coins, but stopped himself. Shenlang already had enough disasters piled on his shoulders. He could not make the same man clean up every mess. So Ning Yuanxian decided to handle another promise first. He personally went to the Zhu family to propose a marriage for Jin Muzong. Meanwhile, Zhu Hongzhu was still nagging his granddaughter Zhu Ning. What kind of man did she actually want? Zhu Ning seriously claimed that she had been trying very hard. Zhu Hongzhu nearly laughed from frustration. Your idea of trying is rejecting every single proposal that comes through the door? Right then, a servant rushed in. Master, His Majesty has arrived. Ning Yuanxian paying a personal visit to Zhu Hongzhu. After the formal greetings, Ning Yuanxian dismisses the attendants so the two of them can talk in private. Zhu Hongzhu brings up the failed loan negotiations with the hidden Yuan society. Shu Buotao has insisted that Crown Prince Ning personally handle the negotiations. To Zhu Hongzhu, the intention is obvious. The hidden Yuan society is trying to drive a wedge between the king and his son. Ning Yuanxian does not want to discuss it any further. He came today for something completely different. Inside, he is already blaming Shenlang. That brat keeps throwing impossible requests at him, and somehow the king is always the one who has to lose face. Ning Yuanxian asks about Zhu Ning. She is almost 20 now, so has Zhu Hongzhu found a suitable husband for her? Zhu Hongzhu says it is difficult. No matter who the family chooses, Zhu Ning herself has to agree first. Ning Yuanxian clears his throat. As it happens, he already has someone in mind. Jin Muzong, heir to the Marquis of Black Tortoise. Zhu Hongzhu nearly chokes. Jin Muzong? That Jin Muzong? Ning Yuanxian quickly starts selling the idea. Jin Muzong comes from a noble family, has a clean background, and at the very least, the boy is honest. After thinking it over, Zhu Hongju decides there is no harm in letting the two youngsters meet once. Ning Yuanxian agrees immediately, then leaves as fast as he can. The moment he gets outside, he is already cursing Shenlang in his head for making him lose face yet again. Not long afterward, Zhu Ning is told that His Majesty has personally introduced a possible husband for her. She asks who it is. Jin Mutsung, heir to the Marquis of Black Tortoise. The people around her are horrified. Isn't Jin Mutsung that famous academic failure who caused a huge scandal last year? In their eyes, he is nowhere near worthy of Zhu Ning. But Zhu Hongju reminds everyone that the king himself arranged this. At the very least, Zhu Ning should meet the man once. Zhu Ning agrees surprisingly easily. In fact, she says she loves blind dates. She does not love romance. She loves crushing overconfident men with her intelligence and talent. Meanwhile, Shenlang is still working in the basement. Qiushi, the Sword King's wife, has been recovering from her poisoning for nearly half a year. Her strength is slowly returning, but her internal injuries have not completely healed. She still does not like being seen, so whenever someone enters, she prefers the room to stay dark. Shenlang brings her food and apologizes for sending the Sword King away on another errand. Qiushi does not mind at all. The old man spent most of his life as a farmer. If nobody gives him something to do, he probably feels even more uncomfortable. Shenlang offers to bring the baby down the next day if she is bored. Qiushi has always loved children, but after everything she went through, she is still hesitant. She tells Shenlang not to frighten the baby with her current appearance. Once she has recovered her looks and her martial skills, then she will happily hold the child and help Shenlang with whatever needs doing. Has the next part of Battle Through the Heavens been finished yet? Not yet. Qiushi immediately tells him to hurry that fatty up and make him write faster. Apparently, that novel is one of the few things keeping her entertained down here. Before long, news of Zhu Ning's arranged meeting with Jin Mutsung spreads through the capital. The Zhu side is furious. Zhu Ning is beautiful, brilliant, and known as the capital's #1 talented woman. Why should she be matched with Jin Mutsung? The gossip outside is even crueler. People laugh that Jin Mutsung, the useless academic failure, is dreaming far above his station. Some even joke that after Zhu Ning crushes him with her intelligence, he may lose all confidence and never dare approach another woman again. After arranging the match, Ning Yuanxian returns to the far less amusing problem of military funding. 80,000 troops are already being assembled, but the hidden Yuan society still refuses to compromise. Their position is becoming painfully clear. If Yuan wants the loan, they want the crown prince personally involved. The succession struggle that had only just calmed down is starting to heat up again. After testing several parts of his own plan, Shenlang finally heads into the palace to discuss the military funding problem with Ning Yuanxian. Meanwhile, inside Fini Pavilion, Jin Mutsung's blind date is finally about to begin. Unfortunately, his stomach chooses this exact moment to betray him. He sits there sweating, desperately trying to hold everything in. All he wants is to survive this meeting, go straight home afterward, and pretend none of this ever happened. Then another thought hits him. Marry Zhu Ning? Him? How could he possibly be worthy of the capital's most famous talented woman? Just then, footsteps approach. Jin Mutsung looks up, and the moment Zhu Ning walks in, he forgets everything else. She is beautiful, exactly like the heroine he always imagined while reading novels. Jin Mutsung immediately decides he has to stand up and greet her properly, so he rises and farts. He freezes. Of course, his stomach is upset, and somehow he forgot that at the single worst moment possible. Zhu Ning just stands there. Jin Mutsung wants to disappear into the floor. After a while, the smell finally clears, and Jin Mutsung secretly celebrates one tiny victory. At least she did not storm out. Zhu Ning gets straight to the point. This blind date has 3 questions. If Jin Mutsung answers all 3 correctly, they can keep talking. If he gets one wrong, the meeting ends immediately. Jin Mutsung starts sweating all over again. Then Zhu Ning gives him the first question. Since he just farted, why are some farts smelly while others barely smell at all? Jin Mutsung nearly collapses. This is the capital's legendary #1 talented woman, and her first blind date question is about farts. Still, he tries to answer. Most gas from the body does not actually smell that strong, but certain foods in the digestive process can produce gases with a much stronger odor. The smell mainly comes from trace gases such as hydrogen sulfide and ammonia. And Jin Mutsung adds one more bizarre fact. Farts can even be flammable. Release enough of the right gases, and they can actually ignite. Now it is Zhu Ning's turn to be surprised. How does this supposedly useless man know something this specific? Jin Mutsung has his brother-in-law Shenlang to thank for that. Living around Shenlang means constantly hearing bizarre questions and equally bizarre answers. Zhu Ning accepts the explanation. Jin Mutsung passes the first question. Then she moves on to question number 2. She points toward the night sky. What exactly are the stars we see above us? This time, Jin Mutsung almost smiles. That question may confuse people who only know old legends and mystical stories. But this one, he actually knows. He explains that some of the especially bright objects in the night sky are nearby planets reflecting sunlight, but the vast majority of stars are actually suns themselves. They only look like tiny points of light because they are unimaginably far away. Ning did not hide anything. She said she had 3 questions for every suitor, and every man before Jin Mutsung had failed. The last question was the toughest of all. What is your dream? When it was Jin Mutsung's turn, he thought for a long time and answered with complete seriousness. His dream was to write books and become the greatest author in the world. The life he wanted was ridiculously simple. He would sit at home writing while his wife sat nearby reading. Before leaving, he even gave Zhu Ning a pair of glasses, saying she read so much that she was already getting a little nearsighted. Zhu Ning put on the glasses and the whole world suddenly snapped into focus. Then she finally got a clear look at Jin Mutsung's face. Her expression became complicated. Jin Mutsung was at least honest. Most of those best-selling stories had been thought up by his brother-in-law Shen Lang, while he mainly copied and organized them. But after reading a few dozen more, he was sure he would eventually be able to write his own. Zhu Ning admitted that Jin Mutsung was the only man who had ever passed all 3 questions. Then she ran into an awkward truth. She had always believed looks did not matter to her. Apparently, they did. Ning Yuanxian later asked Shen Lang whether the marriage had a chance. Shen Lang answered instantly, probably not. Everyone says they want an interesting soul, but when the choice is real, the face still matters. Shen Lang even tossed out one of his crooked theories: women are men's schools. Jin Mutsung had simply not attended enough classes yet. A few more heartbreaks and maybe he would finally mature. But jokes aside, the real problem was military funding. Jin Jun was unifying the tribes faster and faster, while the Chang Queen was close to giving birth. You had to find the money on its own for now. Ning Yuanxian responded with the royal version of going all in. Every noble family had to donate. Refuse? Fine. Send your relatives and private troops to fight in Southern O instead. Donate enough, and even noble ranks could be sold. The moment Shen Lang heard selling titles, he jumped in. Then sell me 3 million gold coins for Ning Jing to become a duke. Ning Yuanxian stared at him. Shen Lang simply patted his chest and guaranteed it. Half a month, 3 million gold coins in pure profit. No hidden yuan society, and not a single coin taken from the heavenly Dao society. He had only one condition. If he really made the money, Ning Jing would be granted the title of Duke of Yu. Then Shen Lang asked the only question that mattered: deal or no deal? Ning Yuanxian did not agree immediately. First, he ordered Li Sun to bring every secret report on Ning Jing's recent work. Before pushing this sun any higher, he wanted to know whether Ning Jing was actually worth it. After reading the reports, Ning Yuanxian finally agreed. Ning Jing could be made a duke, but only after the Southern War. If he promoted him too aggressively now, the court might explode first. Soon a new decree went out. Ning Jing was appointed fundraising commissioner and ordered to raise 3 million gold coins within 1 month. The entire capital erupted. Was this not basically the king publicly pushing Ning Jing into the succession race? Everyone waited for the joke. If Ning Jing really raised the money, it would not just embarrass the hidden yuan society. The crown prince's faction would get slapped too. Meanwhile, a heartbroken Jin Mutsung was still complaining. Women always say they care about what is inside, but do they not still end up choosing the handsome and powerful guy? Shen Lang told him it was not quite that simple. A soulmate sounds romantic, but real attraction usually starts with liking what you see. Personality and deeper connection come after. Zhu Ning being realistic about that was hardly a crime. Jin Mutsung still refused to give up. So do I still have a chance to marry Zhu Ning someday? Shen Lang's answer was brutally practical. Sure, first become handsome, then become strong. Jin Mutsung asked what Shen Lang's own dream was. Shen Lang answered with 4 words: a world without enemies. Jin Mutsung thought that sounded noble until Shen Lang explained it. Anyone who becomes my enemy, I destroy. Anyone I really cannot stand, I may destroy too. A world without enemies simply means all the enemies are gone. That very night, Elder Huan of the Heavenly Dao Society reached the capital. He immediately offered help. If you truly needed money, they could cover it. Although pulling out 3 million at once would hurt their other businesses, Shen Lang had no intention of taking it. The offer itself was enough. He would make the 3 million himself. Elder Huang became even more curious. What exactly was Shen Lang planning to sell? Shen Lang pulled out a tube of so-called golden dragon bloodline and sold it like the greatest miracle in history. Blood from a divine dragon of the deep sea. 3,000 gold coins per dose. Change your destiny today and buy generations of glory for your family. Elder Huang's eyes almost popped out. Real dragon blood? Shen Lang answered just as cleanly. Of course not. But after drinking it, strength, energy, and speed really would surge for a short time. The stuff actually came from failed golden bloodline samples. The effect hit hard like a temporary booster, but it faded. Shen Lang diluted a few hundred doses and turned them into several thousand. Even more ridiculous, Shen Lang claimed it could also make a man perform again. Elder Huang was skeptical and asked if it was really that miraculous. Shen Lang replied that in some ways, it was even more miraculous than Huang imagined. Elder Huang then asked whether Shen Lang had tried it himself. Shen Lang immediately waved him off. Why would he need it? Elder Huang awkwardly admitted that he did know, then carefully asked the real question. Were there any side effects? Shen Lang said no. Shen Lang added that he had tested it dozens of times on both people and animals and had not found any problems. problems. Then Shenlang suddenly looked straight at Elder Huang and asked, "Old Huang, don't tell me you're the one who needs this stuff?" Elder Huang denied it instantly. "Impossible." Then, 1 second later, he claimed he had an uncle with certain difficulties and wanted to know whether the medicine could restore his vigor. Meanwhile, Ning Yuanxian had spent the last few days reading confidential reports on Ning Jing. Since he had pushed the son into the succession race, he needed to truly understand him. Ning Jing never used flashy shortcuts. Every case and every mess took him forever, but his work was remarkably steady. At first, Ning Yuanxian thought this style was exhausting. In court, many problems could simply be suppressed through alliances and political balance. But the more he read, the more he wondered whether you might actually need someone exactly like Ning Jing, someone stubborn enough to keep digging until the problem was solved. So he asked Li Sun, "Do you think Ning Jing is simply too ordinary and moderate?" Li Sun disagreed. To him, Ning Jing was not mediocre. He was tenacious, the kind of man who would chase a problem all the way to its end. Li Sun also hinted that Ning Yuanxian had sometimes postponed hidden dangers rather than solving them, and problems like that eventually came back. Ning Yuanxian did not enjoy hearing that and told him to stop speaking in circles. Then he asked, "Has that brat Shenlang started yet?" Li Sun answered, "Yes." When Ning Yuanxian saw Shenlang's sales pitch, his first reaction was simple. This bastard could really exaggerate. At the same time, 2 waves of rumors swept through the capital. The first came from the Crown Prince and Ning Qi, who jointly moved to isolate Shenlang. Their message was clear. Noble families and wealthy merchants were not to do business with Shenlang or donate money to Ning Jing. They wanted to choke them financially. The second rumor came from Shenlang himself. The Lan brothers and 2,000 Nirvana soldiers had become terrifyingly strong because of his golden dragon bloodline. Some people laughed. Real dragon blood? Nonsense. But others asked the obvious question. Then how had 2,000 useless recruits suddenly turned into monsters? Someone even swore that the secret had leaked from a drunken insider. That made the story sound even more convincing, and soon the entire capital had heard it. Most ordinary people treated it as a joke. The middle ranks half believed it. The richest families mocked it out loud while quietly doing the math. Some insisted Shenlang was spreading the rumor to scam money. But one question remained unanswered. How had he really transformed those 2,000 weak recruits? After a few days, the families with weak and disappointing heirs were the first ones who could no longer sit still. The first fish to bite was Wang Tao, heir to the Viscount of the Western Frontier. He had a weak bloodline, loved fooling around, and had failed the military exam. Worse, his illegitimate younger brother had passed, putting Wang Tao's inheritance at risk. With his future slipping away, he begged Yun Mengzi to introduce him to Shenlang. Yun Mengzi agreed only to make the introduction. He could not promise that Shenlang would sell anything. Wang Tao slipped into the residence through the back gate, privately wondering whether Yun Mengzi and Shenlang were teaming up to scam him. The moment they entered the private room, Shenlang started tearing into Yun Mengzi. Shenlang deliberately exploded at Yun Mengzi. "You leaked a secret as important as the Golden Dragon bloodline, and now you're bringing outsiders here? Keep this up and we're done." Yun Mengzi hurriedly pleaded for Wang Tao and described true dragon blood as priceless, begging Shenlang to spare even a tiny amount. Shenlang put on a deeply reluctant expression and only then pretended to give in. Shenlang first confirmed Wang Tao's identity, then asked, "If my medicine really makes you strong, will you stand with Ning Jing when it matters?" Wang Tao agreed instantly, while privately thinking that once he got the medicine, Ning Jing could go to hell. Then Shenlang named the price and claimed he had refused an offer of 5,000 gold coins just an hour earlier. Wang Tao was only getting a chance because of Yun Mengzi. Wang Tao nearly went numb. The price was more than his family earned in an entire year. Shenlang emphasized that other people were already offering 5,000. If Wang Tao could not afford it, he was free to leave. Wang Tao was not about to spend that kind of fortune blindly. What if he drank it and nothing happened? Wang Tao insisted on seeing proof first. Nobody sane would gamble that much money without testing the effect. Shenlang agreed easily and offered 1/3 of a dose for free. If it worked, Wang Tao could go home for the money and the rest would be reserved. Wang Tao worried it might be poison, but he had already come this far. He clenched his teeth and drank it. The effect hit almost immediately. Wang Tao felt as if his whole body had suddenly filled with endless strength. Then his eyes locked onto a 200 gene stone weight nearby. He used to struggle with far lighter weights. Now he lifted the 200 gene stone clean off the ground. Even Wang Tao stared at himself in disbelief. Was this really his strength? If 1/3 of a dose was this powerful, Wang Tao immediately decided the next military exam was basically his. Shenlang even acted generous, saying the effect varied by person. If it did nothing, he would not charge a single coin. Wang Tao immediately protested. It worked far too well. His strength had at least doubled. Shenlang agreed to reserve the remaining 2/3 for only 2 hours. Wang Tao panicked. This was his lifeline and maybe his family's too. He sprinted home, ready to fight his own father if that was what it took to get the money. On the way home, Wang Tao discovered that his speed had jumped too, and he barely felt tired. Now he was convinced this was not medicine. It was a miracle capable of changing his fate. Back at the Wang residence, Wang Mu was still cursing his useless son for wasting time at pleasure houses and learning nothing at the capital's military school. The angrier he got, the more he felt the illegitimate son looked like a better heir than Wang Tao. Wang Tao burst through the door without any greeting at all. "Father, give me money now," and the number he wanted was 6,000 gold coins. Wang Mu nearly flipped the table. The family made less than 2,000 a year, and this idiot wanted 3 years of profit in one breath. Wang Tao insisted it was for the family's future and invoked Yun Mengzi and Shen Lang, claiming he was already getting a special insider price. Wang Mu reached one conclusion: his son had been scammed. Wang Mu urgently asked whether he had already paid. Wang Tao said no, he had only tried 1/3 for free, and the rest was being held for him. Wang Mu immediately declared Shen Lang a fraud and was ready to have his idiot son tied up and confined. Wang Tao shouted back, "The golden dragon bloodline is real." When words failed, Wang Tao pointed at a heavy object he had never been able to lift. "Father, just watch." 1 second later, he lifted it. Wang Mu went silent. How had his useless son suddenly become this strong? Wang Tao pushed immediately. This was only 1/3 of a dose. A full dose was even stronger, and the 2,000 Nirvana soldiers had supposedly transformed the same way. Wang Mu finally began to waver. Could this really be genuine? Wang Tao kept pressing. Very few people knew yet. Once the top noble families reacted, money alone would not be enough to buy a dose. This was not just about his military exam. It was about the inheritance and the future of the Wang family. Wang Mu finally gave in. "Come with me. Get the money." Wang Mu took him to the private savings he had quietly accumulated over the years. Roughly a quarter of the family's stored wealth. Some came from salary, some from gifts, and some from sources best left unexamined. Handing it over physically hurt him. Wang Mu wanted to go personally, but Wang Tao stopped him. Both the crown prince and Ning Qi were blocking Shen Lang. A spoiled heir could make empty promises, but if an official like Wang Mu appeared in person, it would look like a political declaration. Wang Mu realized he was right and handed the gold over, leaving his hopeless son to complete the deal alone. Wang Tao returned to the marquis residence with chests of gold. Gold changed hands, and Wang Tao finally received the remaining 2/3 of the golden dragon bloodline. He drank it immediately. Shen Lang watched him drink while quietly calculating dilution ratios and profit in his head. The second surge hit, and Wang Tao's confidence exploded. His eyes locked onto a 400 gene stone weight. 200 gene? Child's play. This time he wanted the big one. 1 second later, he lifted the 400 gene weight with one hand. Wang Tao laughed like a madman. The military exam now felt easy, and his illegitimate brother could forget about taking his inheritance. Wang Tao dropped to his knees, practically treating Shen Lang like a second father. In his mind, Shen Lang had saved both him and the entire Wang family. Shen Lang waved him down. "Relax. I only have 2 requirements. First, do not spread the golden dragon bloodline secret or show off your new strength." Wang Tao agreed aloud while already imagining how he would show off outside. Second, stand with Ning Jing when it matters. Wang Tao promised again while privately thinking he could ignore that later too. Then Shen Lang added the most important restriction: stay away from women for 1 month, because every time he broke that rule, part of the temporary boost would disappear. Wang Tao even asked, "Not even once?" Shen Lang made it clear that even once was a bad idea. Wang Tao did the math privately. Even if he lost 20 or 30%, he would probably still be strong enough to pass the military exam. So he marched out with his head high, thinking only one thing: I'm powerful now. Time to show off. The moment Wang Tao left, Shen Lang smiled at the piles of gold. That was only the first sucker. Wang Tao's circle was packed with rich, useless heirs who wanted instant power. Not harvesting them would almost be a waste. Even Yun Mengzi was getting nervous. "You're planning to offend every noble family in the capital?" Shen Lang asked whether he was afraid. Yun Mengzi was not. As a royal envoy, he did not depend on those families. Shen Lang smiled even more wickedly. Noble families had short memories. As long as there was profit, the leeks would grow back after every harvest. Meanwhile, Wang Tao was already back inside Spring Sleep Pavilion. The moment he came to his senses, he regretted it. Why had he come looking for Ducky again? Shen Lang had clearly warned him that doing this would cost him some of his newly gained strength. So Wang Tao swore that from this moment on, for the next month, he would absolutely stay away from women. Still, he could not help feeling pleased with himself. The dignity he had lost before was finally back. Ducky now looked at him with admiration, and in his mind, he was no longer the embarrassing three-breath Wang. Then a familiar voice hit him immediately. "Oh, isn't this three-breath Wang? What happened? Did you finally gain 1 extra breath and make it to 4 today?" The speaker was Hua Xiong, heir to the Earl of Yangwu and Wang Tao's longtime rival. Their families had disliked each other since the previous generation. Hua Xiong had humiliated Wang Tao countless times before. Now that Wang Tao had power, he wanted every old debt repaid. Wang Tao challenged him first and declared that every humiliation from the past would be repaid tenfold tonight. Hua Xiong almost laughed. Since when did this useless fool dare challenge him? Wang Tao turned it into a public duel in front of their friends and the women around them. Whoever lost would admit defeat publicly. Everyone assumed he was either drunk or genuinely insane. That was exactly what Wang Tao wanted. Let everyone underestimate him first, then slap every face at once. They even wrote down the terms so neither side could back out. A betting pool opened immediately, and the odds were completely one-sided. Almost everyone backed Hua Xiong. Wang Tao's side was almost empty. Hardly anyone believed in him. Seeing nobody bet on him, Wang Tao threw down 1,000 gold coins on himself. The crowd now looked at him like a complete lunatic. Apparently he wanted to get beaten and lose money at the same time. The bookmaker accepted the bet. The gong sounded, and the duel began. began. Hua Xiong opened by threatening to break one of Wang Tao's legs and swung his staff. Wang Tao slipped aside and countered straight into his right leg. The crowd went quiet. Was this really the same Wang Tao? The longer they fought, the stranger it became. Wang Tao was faster and stronger, completely reversing the one-sided fight everyone had expected. Even Hua Xiong looked like he was questioning reality. Wang Tao knew Shenlang's warning had been real. After failing to control himself the previous night, his strength had already dropped noticeably. At the Marquis residence, 400 Jin had felt easy. Now even around 270 Jin was taking real effort. Even weakened, however, he was still more than strong enough to beat Hua Xiong. A woman nearby even teased him about his earlier visit upstairs, sending Wang Tao's ego even higher. Even better, his 1,000 gold bet hit at enormous odds and became 7,000. The 6,000 he spent on the medicine was completely recovered, with another 1,000 left over. Wang Tao decided there was no reason to go home yet. His friends crowded around praising him and demanding to know what miracle had changed him overnight. Wang Tao initially tried to stay mysterious, enjoying the feeling of being the only one with the secret. Someone even pretended to defend him, saying that if Wang Tao did not want to share the secret, nobody should pressure him. Just keep drinking. The drinks kept coming, and eventually Wang Tao was the one who could no longer keep quiet. Once drunk enough, Wang Tao proudly blurted it out. I bought golden dragon blood from Shenlang. He even bragged that he had only gotten access through Yunmengzi. The entire room went silent. 6,000 gold coins had sounded like robbery, but Wang Tao's transformation was sitting right in front of them. Once they did the math, 6,000 did not seem so outrageous if it could turn a useless heir into a powerful fighter. Before sunrise the next morning, the first fully disguised customer appeared at the back gate, with several chests of gold behind him. The disguise said everything. He clearly did not want the crown prince or Ningqi's people recognizing him. Shenlang asked what he wanted. The masked man immediately offered 6,000 gold coins for one dose of golden dragon bloodline. Even Shenlang was surprised. He had originally planned on 3,000, then raised it to 5. Somehow Wang Tao's drunken mouth had pushed the market price to 6,000. Shenlang warned him first. Every body was different. Some people reacted strongly, while others might barely feel more than an ordinary medicine. The masked customer worried the test sample might be fake. Shenlang told him to drink it right there. If it worked, he would pay. If not, he could simply leave. That offer actually made the customer think Shenlang was an unusually honest businessman. The moment he drank it, the effect surged through him so violently that the masked customer was startled by his own body. Once the first shock passed, he felt overflowing strength and immediately started looking for something to test. His eyes settled on the 400 Jin stone weight nearby. 1 second later, he lifted the 400 Jin weight with one hand. The masked customer stared at his own arm in disbelief. Had he really become this strong? He instantly decided the 6,000 gold coins were worth every bit and imagined how proud his father would be to finally see him succeed. He thanked Shenlang repeatedly, while Shenlang privately loved this anonymous business. No identities, and no need to force political promises. Before he left, Shenlang gave the usual warning, stay away from women for 1 month. Here, he warned that each violation could cut roughly 20% from the effect. The masked customer thanked him and left, immediately discovering that his speed had increased dramatically too. Then he passed Spring's sleep pavilion, and his steps suddenly slowed. He clearly remembered Shenlang's warning, yet immediately began bargaining with himself. Just once. One time should be fine. Back at the residence, Shenlang became completely overwhelmed as wave after wave of wealthy heirs arrived in secret. One customer clearly felt the effect but tried pretending nothing had happened so he could avoid paying. Shenlang did not argue. He simply ordered his men to remove the customer's disguise and throw him outside. The man changed his story instantly. It works. It works extremely well. I was only joking. Shenlang loved that every customer hid his face. The harder they concealed their identity, the easier it would be for him to deny everything later. When the effect disappeared a month later, he could simply ask, when did I ever sell you golden dragon bloodline? Do I even know you? No witnesses, no proof, no problem. After every sale, Shenlang prepared to repeat the same warning. I have one piece of advice for you. The entire room shouted the answer before he could finish. Stay away from women. Shenlang could only laugh. Even the warning label had gone viral. After 3 days of selling, Shenlang got bored and handed the business to Wu Lai and Shen 13. He spent half his time with his daughter and the other half researching Mulan's bloodline, still determined to make her the strongest fighter in the world. After countless experiments and 10 days of sales, the golden dragon bloodline was officially sold out. When the storeroom opened, it no longer held a few chests of gold. It looked like an entire sea of gold. Shenlang asked for the total, 4.93 million gold coins. Even Shenlang had to admit that the profit margin on miracle health products was terrifying. He immediately ordered the gold loaded onto wagons and sent toward the palace. The moment the gold convoy entered the streets, crowds began gathering, and the escorts grew nervous. With that much gold in plain sight, anyone would be tempted. The guards asked whether this was too high profile. Shenlang answered shamelessly, I donated millions. I'm not allowed to show off a little. Soon the entire city was pouring into the streets to stare at the endless line of gold. The crowd stared in disbelief. Some even joked about robbing it, though everyone knew nobody would actually dare. Elder Huang admitted that in all his years, he had never seen this much gold gathered in one place. But he warned Shenlang that the capital's rich had been drained so hard that mirrors and other luxury goods might become difficult to sell for a while. Meanwhile, the Hidden Yuan Society's headquarters at Enji Tower was watching the gold as well. The Hidden Yuan Society could hardly believe it. Shenlang had actually pulled it off, and apparently had no bottom line when money was involved. They predicted a serious cash shortage across the capital, which would drag down their own business too. They called it robbing the rich to help the poor, though what really hurt was their own profit. Mobilizing 80,000 troops meant far more than salaries. Grain, weapons, armor, medicine, laborers, carts, and horses all consumed money. Those military supplies should have created enormous procurement contracts, and the Hidden Yuan Society had expected to take a huge share. Now Shenlang had disrupted both the money and the supply channels, threatening more than $1 million in lost profit. The more the Hidden Yuan Society calculated, the angrier they became. Then the gold convoy passed directly beneath Enji Tower. Even worse, Shenlang looked straight toward them from horseback. The Hidden Yuan Society exploded. Was he seriously slapping them in the face from across the street? One of them cursed Shenlang for being unbearably shameless and swore they would make him pay. Soon they discovered something else. Shenlang was secretly gathering special Zero Bloodline people from across the kingdom. Shenlang had hidden the operation carefully, but the Hidden Yuan intelligence network still found traces, and both the Crown Prince and Ning Qi noticed too. Everyone reached the same conclusion. Shenlang was building a second Nirvana army. Shenlang was reckless about most things, yet extremely careful here. That only proved how important this trump card really was. The Hidden Yuan Society decided immediately the second Nirvana army could not be allowed to form. Shenlang's hope had to be cut off at the root. Back at the palace, Ning Yuanxian asked Shenlang exactly how much he had made, 4.93 million, then added that Elder Huang disliked the awkward number and contributed another 70,000, bringing it to a clean 5 million. Ning Yuanxian froze at the words 5 million. He knew Shenlang could do impossible things, but not by this much. The original target was only 3 million. Shenlang had exceeded it by roughly 60%, giving you far more room for the Southern O campaign. Ning Yuanxian looked increasingly pleased, while Li Sun added that Shenlang had apparently harvested almost every rich family in the capital. Of course, once the effect faded after 10 days, those buyers would realize they had been fooled. Ning Yuanxian did not get angry. He laughed. Good, they deserved to be harvested. When the kingdom asked them to contribute, they all played dead. If Shenlang tricked the money out of them now, that was their problem. Meanwhile, the gold convoy was still circling the city, and the escorts began wondering whether Shenlang planned to tour the entire capital before entering the palace. The escorts finally protested. Enough was enough. Even the horses were getting exhausted. Shenlang argued that some pleasure house girls only woke around noon. What a shame if they missed the mountain of gold. Only then did he finally agree to enter the palace and let the king and royal household see the spectacle. When the gold entered the palace, even the royal household was stunned. Ning Yuanxian was delighted that all of it was entering his treasury. For once, he actually felt rich and praised Shenlang for making him look spectacular. He immediately ordered every coin moved into the royal treasury. Ning Yuanxian knew the gold would start flowing back out tomorrow. Grain, cloth, medicine, and labor all had to be paid for. His treasury could never hold money for long. When Shenlang arrived, Ning Yuanxian praised him and then asked the obvious question: what happens when the buyers realize the truth in 10 days? Shenlang smiled. Your Majesty, we need to make a few things clear first. First, the buyers themselves decided it was Golden Dragon bloodline. Shenlang had never publicly advertised it. They had begged him to sell. Second, he had repeatedly warned them to stay away from women for a month. If they ignored him and lost strength, whose fault was that? Third, he had not pocketed a single coin. He had even spent several hundred of his own, and all the money went to the kingdom. So Shenlang concluded with complete confidence, even if this was a scam, it was a scam for the country. If anyone had a complaint, they could take it up with the king. Ning Yuanxian asked whether he planned to hide. Shenlang's answer was even worse. No receipt, no contract, and every buyer had covered his face. Why should Shenlang admit he even knew them? Ning Yuanxian could only admire the shameless logic. He had learned something new today. Ning Yuanxian then explained that the 5 million was not the main reason he had summoned Shenlang. He wanted to talk about Ning Zheng. He had worried that Shenlang would spend all his energy destroying the Crown Prince and Ning Qi, just as he had once gone after Su Nan. Instead, even when the other side attacked first, Shenlang stayed restrained and focused on strengthening Ning Zheng himself. That was the kind of succession struggle Ning Yuanxian could accept. Shenlang started to mention Yu's decades of accumulated problems, but Ning Yuanxian stopped him. He already understood the point. Ning Yuanxian warned Shenlang that if Ning Zheng became king, reform would eventually reach the Jin family too. Shenlang answered without hesitation. The Jin family could surrender its fief and private army. Just leave its fleet alone. Even Ning Yuanxian was surprised by that answer. Shenlang then added that before any of that happened, he still intended to destroy the Shui family. That made Ning Yuanxian realize that the Shui clan was the grudge Shenlang truly would not release. Then Ning Yuanxian abruptly changed the subject. Shenlang, someone is preparing to hurt you. Do you know? Shenlang knew exactly what he meant. The Crown Prince, Ning Qi, and the Hidden Yuan Society were joining forces against his second Nirvana army. Ning Yuanxian had noticed the same pattern. Shenlang was becoming more restrained while the Crown Prince and Ning Qi were using dirtier methods. He stated his bottom line clearly. The Nirvana army might look like Shenlang and Ning Zheng's force, but ultimately it belonged to you and to the king. The princes could fight over succession, but Ning Yuanxian would not allow anyone to burn Yu's national interests along with it. Ning Yuanxian offered to intervene directly and suppress the plot. Shenlang refused. He could handle it himself. Ning Yuanxian did not insist. Instead, he said Shenlang had done so well that Ning Jing deserved a reward. Before the southern campaign, you would hold a heaven worship ceremony. Traditionally, the king led the ritual while the crown prince recited the sacrificial text. This time, Ning Yuanxian wanted Ning Jing to do the recitation. The reward was enormous. It would tell the entire kingdom that Ning Jing had truly entered the heart of the succession race. But there was one deadly problem. Ning Jing was famous for stuttering. If he stumbled through the national sacrificial text, it would not embarrass only him. It would embarrass all of you. Ning Yuanxian admitted Ning Jing had worked hard for months, even practicing with a pebble in his mouth every day. But a lifelong stutter was not something 3 days should be able to cure, and simple fluency was not enough. At a ceremony like this, the voice had to seize the entire crowd. Shenlang guaranteed it. In 3 days, Ning Jing would not only speak fluently, he would shock the entire ceremony and make everyone see him differently. That afternoon, the decree spread through the court. 3 days later, Ning Jing would recite the sacrificial text. The court exploded. The recitation had always belonged to the crown prince. Everyone understood the political signal behind replacing him. Opposing officials rushed into the palace, arguing that this publicly suggested the crown prince's position was unstable. Worse, Ning Jing stuttered. Letting him fail at the heaven worship ceremony meant gambling with the dignity of the entire kingdom. No matter how many officials protested, Ning Yuanxian gave the same answer. His decision was final. Once the officials left, Ning Yuanxian admitted privately that he was nervous too. The decree was already public. Backing down now would be even worse. Even so, he chose to bet on Shenlang. At the marquee residence, Shenlang set an even higher standard. Ning Jing did not merely need to avoid stuttering. He had to speak fluently, powerfully, and shake the entire audience. Ning Jing panicked first. Months of practice had only produced modest improvement. How could he reach that level in 3 days? And with tens of thousands watching at the ceremony, he would be even more nervous, making the stutter worse. Shenlang simply agreed. Exactly. That was why they needed a different method. Shenlang asked one question first. Do you trust me? Ning Jing answered yes. Shenlang promised he could do it in 3 days and began preparing the sacrificial text. If he could not create an immortal masterpiece from nothing, no problem. History was full of excellent writing waiting to be borrowed. Shenlang pulled from famous sacrificial texts throughout history, even drawing on works like the Great Ming Code and Sima Xiangru's Fengshan prose. He did not copy blindly. He modified, combined, and rebuilt the material, producing a grand sacrificial text in less than an hour. Everyone who read it was impressed. The language, momentum, and rhythm were all overwhelming. Even Li Sun said the palace's backup version could be burned. It was not even close. The text was under 1,000 characters, and Ning Zheng's memory was good enough to memorize it quickly. Next came the chanting rhythm and melody. This was not ordinary reading. It had to work with ceremonial music and sound solemn and powerful. A few hours later, Shenlang had even finished the chant pattern. The moment Ning Jing tried it, the real problem returned. He knew the text and the melody, but the stutter still tore the performance apart. Everyone listening grew anxious, and Shenlang gave the blunt verdict. Not good enough. Shenlang understood the problem. Ning Jing did not lack strength. The more desperately he wanted to perform well, the more nervous he became, and the worse his speech got. Li Sun was becoming desperate. This was a national ceremony. If it failed, nobody could cover the embarrassment. Shenlang told everyone to calm down and switched to a completely different approach. Shenlang first had Ning Jing talk to himself. The moment nobody was judging him, his speech became almost normal. Ning Jing had been looked down on since childhood and often talked to himself. During those moments, he barely stuttered at all. That convinced Shenlang that the problem was largely psychological rather than physical. So he brought out a prepared medicine and told Ning Jing to try it. Ning Jing did not hesitate. He drank the green preparation. As the effect hit, Ning Jing's entire mental state changed, as though nothing in heaven or earth could restrain him. He even shouted, I, Ning Jing, will become the greatest king in the history of you. The fear that had been choking his voice suddenly disappeared. The more Ning Jing spoke, the smoother and stronger he sounded. Shenlang immediately ordered him to chant the sacrificial text out loud. This time, the stutter was gone. Ning Jing slipped into a rhythm, repeating the chant again and again, growing smoother and more powerful every time. Li Sun was thrilled. It worked. This already sounded like a completely different Ning Jing. Shenlang still shook his head. Fluency was only step one. The voice still lacked enough force and penetration. Normally, that kind of voice would require decades of training and internal power. 3 days was nowhere near enough, so Shenlang brought out a stronger enhanced preparation. Ning Jing drank again, and a much stronger effect began surging through him. Ning Jing felt a new force inside his body, and his voice became noticeably deeper and more powerful. Li Sun was convinced this would already shock everyone at the ceremony, but Shenlang found one final problem. The altar square was enormous, with tens of thousands thousands outdoors. Even a powerful voice could not reach every corner. After inspecting the actual altar, the problem became obvious. Without amplification, Ningjing could scream himself hoarse and the people at the back still would not hear clearly. Shenlang's mind turned immediately. What about lip syncing? Or better yet, a human amplifier? The question became, who in all of you had the loudest voice, the strongest internal power, and the ability to imitate someone else's sound? The answer came quickly: Eunuch Li Mu. The great eunuch was already a top martial expert with absurd vocal power. He was basically a ready-made human loudspeaker. Shenlang planned to hide Li Mu out of sight and use him to amplify Ningjing's voice. Li Sun stared at him in disbelief. You're willing to cheat at the heaven worship ceremony? Shenlang did not call it cheating. He called it a technical solution. If the timing was perfect, who would ever know? Li Sun had only one thought left. Shenlang was willing to pull tricks even in front of the ancestors and the heavens. When the plan reached the palace, Ning Yuanxian did not explode. He actually found it interesting. He confirmed that Ning Zhang's own performance was already strong. All that remained was the final impact of the voice. So Ning Yuanxian asked Li Mu whether he could help. Li Mu answered that if the king commanded it, he would. Ning Yuanxian specifically asked about Li Mu's heavenly demon voice technique. The ancient technique could control and project sound while imitating another person's voice, making it perfect for the plan. For the next 3 days, Shenlang trained Ningjing in secret while officials kept begging the king to reverse the decree. The opposition kept invoking the sacred nature of the ceremony and Ningjing stuttered, convinced the event would become a humiliation. The more Ning Yuanxian heard, the more annoyed he became. If they were all waiting to laugh at Ningjing, then they could wait to be slapped by the result instead. 3 days later, on the morning of the ceremony, the first disaster arrived. The weather was wrong. The Imperial Astronomical Bureau had predicted clear skies, yet the capital woke beneath heavy black clouds that looked ready to burst. Ning Yuanxian's first thought was whether someone had deliberately chosen the wrong day to make him lose face. The astronomers panicked and insisted that every calculation from the previous days had clearly predicted sunshine, but one look outside made the forecast look ridiculous. The opposition quietly celebrated. With skies like this and Ningjing expected to stutter, the king could become a joke across the entire realm. The crown prince mocked the situation privately. His father had forced Ningjing forward, and now even the heavens seemed to disagree. Officials seized the opportunity and demanded a new date, with the crown prince restored as the reciter. But if Ning Yuanxian agreed, he would publicly admit that his earlier decree had been wrong and slap himself in the face. Some officials even wanted Ningjing himself to persuade the king to retreat, since Ning Yuanxian now trusted him. In other words, they wanted to use Ningjing as a tool to pressure the king. A senior royal elder finally cut them off. Enough, ministers should do their own jobs instead of turning every crisis into another succession battle. Inside the palace, Prince Lian also urged Ning Yuanxian to change the date. Ning Yuanxian asked whether even his royal uncle thought he was wrong. The king grew angrier. When the hidden Yuan society and hostile ministers were surrounding him, why had the crown prince not shown the same urgency to help his father? Prince Lian defended the crown prince, saying that as heir apparent he also had to protect his authority and the faction behind him. That answer only made Ning Yuanxian colder. In the crown prince's mind, was he first an heir or first a son and subject? Ning Yuanxian finally refused to retreat. If he changed the date today, the same officials would only push harder tomorrow. He summoned Ningjing and Shenlang and asked directly, "Can you tell whether it will rain today?" Prince Lian even warned Shenlang not to flatter the king with nonsense. This time, Shenlang did not pretend to control fate. He admitted honestly that he could not guarantee the weather. Ning Yuanxian understood the trap. If the ceremony continued and a storm hit, people would call it heaven's anger. If he postponed, they would call it defeat. Finally, he gritted his teeth. Fine. Worst case, he would issue an edict blaming himself. The final royal order came down. The heaven worship ceremony would proceed. At Li Sun's command, the royal procession left the palace and headed for the altar. Dark clouds hung over the altar as everyone took position, silently praying for the same thing: please do not rain. Even Ning Yuanxian could only gamble and hope the heavens showed him some mercy. A huge thunderclap suddenly rolled across the grounds, startling the crowd. Some whispered that the sky looked terrifying, almost as if heaven itself were angry. Ning Yuanxian repeated one thought in his mind: do not rain. Please, do not rain. The bells stopped, the drums began, and the grand director of the royal clan formally opened the heaven worship ceremony. The ritual proceeded step by step, and Ning Yuanxian could feel the moisture thickening in the air. Eventually, he gave up worrying. If heaven wanted rain, let it rain. He could always issue the self-blame edict afterward. The opposition, meanwhile, was practically begging the clouds to burst. The soldiers below were getting nervous too. If a storm hit during the ceremony, would people see it as a bad omen for the Southern War? Prince Lian also hoped the rain would hold off, but the ritual was already moving forward. Finally, it was time for the sacrificial recitation, and every eye turned toward Ningjing. Some saw him trembling with tension and sneered. Was the stuttering prince really going up there? Before stepping onto the altar, Ningjing secretly activated the medicine Shenlang had prepared. The familiar surge of power and confidence quickly returned. Ningjing's confidence surged until one thought filled his mind: above heaven and below it, no one can suppress me. At that exact moment, another bolt of thunder exploded across across the sky. The thunder made people flinch, tightening the atmosphere across the entire ceremony. Ningjing, however, stood completely steady. The crowd noticed immediately. Why was the fifth prince completely unfazed by the thunder? Why did his entire presence suddenly feel different? Then Ningjing opened his mouth, and the recitation began. The first line stunned the crowd. Wasn't Ningjing supposed to stutter? Not a single word caught. His pronunciation was clear, his rhythm steady, and his voice carried real force. More and more people began wondering whether this was really the same fifth prince they knew. At the same time, the ceremonial music began. With the music behind him, the sacrificial text became even more imposing. Even the thunder seemed to pause, and someone joked that perhaps the gods themselves were listening. That was when the real hidden trick activated. Li Mu, concealed from view, used the heavenly demon voice technique to amplify Ningjing's voice. Ningjing's voice suddenly became deeper and carried astonishingly far, reaching the entire ceremonial ground. People below began wondering whether he had secretly mastered some incredible vocal technique. Even the soldiers felt their blood boiling, ready to march straight into battle. Prince Lian found it even stranger. With wind as strong, why was Ningjing's voice completely unaffected? Then the clouds above actually began to split, and sunlight slowly broke through. Sunlight fell over Ningjing until he seemed wrapped in a halo from the sky. Even Shenlang was stunned. Was heaven really helping this much today? Everyone in the crowd was speechless. This part was definitely not in Shenlang's plan. Even Prince Lian began wondering whether this really was heaven's will. About 15 minutes later, Ningjing finished the entire sacrificial text without a single collapse. The altar grounds went silent for a moment, then erupted in amazement. People praised the power of the text and treated the breaking clouds and returning sunlight as an extraordinary omen. The people who had been waiting for a disaster suddenly had nothing to say. The soldiers erupted into cheers for you and for the king, wave after wave rolling across the grounds. Ning Yuanxian was delighted. This time he did not even need to slap his opponents. Heaven had done it for him. Even heaven stands with me. Heaven's will. This is heaven's will. After the ceremony, officials were still whispering. Could this really be heaven's will? Was Ningjing actually favored by the heavens? Ning Yuanxian simply said, "Good," while knowing that once the words heavens will spread, their political force could exceed any decree. A new idea quickly spread through the capital. If heaven favored Ningjing, did that mean it no longer favored the crown prince? The crown prince soon stormed into Zhu Hongzhu's study and released all the anger he had been holding. He complained that after everything he had sacrificed for the succession and the Zhu family, his father still kept pushing Ningjing upward. Zhu Hongzhu was far calmer. He pointed out that the Great Flame Empire preferred vassal states to have heirs who were easier to control, but this was not the time for the crown prince to flip the table. The ceremony had been shocking, but public emotion never burned forever. Ningjing's greatest asset right now was the reputation of heaven's mandate. Reputation was like wind. In a month or two it would fade. Real power lasted. Zhu Hongzhu said the crown prince had two priorities. First, you absolutely could not lose the Southern War. Not only did you need to win, the greatest military credit had to land on the crown prince. Real battlefield achievement could outweigh the ceremony's temporary excitement. The crown prince worried that even if he fought personally, his father might still deny him the credit because of his growing preference for Ningjing. The crown prince immediately thought of Nangong Ao, a key figure on the southern front, and asked whether Zhu Hongzhu had already been testing him. Zhu Hongzhu admitted he had been sending signals. Nangong Ao had not responded yet, but at the critical moment he would speak. The crown prince understood immediately. The Zhu family had probably been cultivating influence around Nangong Ao for a long time. The second priority was to stop Ningjing from getting stronger, or more precisely, stop Shenlang from building him new trump cards. The crown prince even asked whether Horizon Sea Pavilion could simply see Shenlang. Zhu Hongzhu said Shenlang was not yet important enough for that. The crown prince brought up Futua Mountain. Hadn't Shenlang been probing their limits too? Zhu Hongzhu explained that Futua Mountain's core sphere was not in use. Shenlang had provoked them, but had not truly crossed their final line. The crown prince was frustrated. Were they supposed to simply let Shenlang keep doing whatever he wanted? Zhu Hongzhu asked, "Aren't you already moving against Shenlang?" The crown prince understood immediately. You mean the second Nirvana army? Zhu Hongzhu pointed out that some matters could be discussed with Ning Qi. At least when it came to suppressing Ningjing and Shenlang, both factions wanted the same thing and could use each other. The crown prince would never meet Ning Qi personally, but Shui Zhaoyan and Xue Xuesen sat down as representatives of the two sides. Shui Zhaoyan opened directly. Once they seized the more than 3,000 Zero Bloodline recruits Shenlang was gathering, each side would take half. Xue objected. Capturing the recruits was only the first step. The later bloodline transformation still depended on her side's connection to Futua Mountain. Why should the split be even? She proposed that Ning Qi take 2/3 while the crown prince received only 1/3. Shui Zhaoyan refused to yield. You have Futua Mountain. We have Horizon Sea Pavilion. Neither side gets to pretend the other is helpless. The real problem was that the 3,000 recruits were being secretly escorted by Shenlang's Black Mirror Bureau and elite members of the Heavenly Dao Society. Xue said finding the route was not difficult. The Xue clan and Blackwater platform had enough intelligence to do that. The real question was who would dare attack once the route was known. The Nirvana army might be associated with Shenlang and Ningjing, but ultimately Ultimately, it was the king's army. Blackwater platform could leak intelligence, but it could not openly send experts to seize the recruits. Neither prince wanted direct evidence linking him to the attack. In the end, both sides agreed on the practical solution: seize the recruits first, then split them evenly. Another 10 days passed, and the Golden Dragon bloodline effect finally began fading across the capital. At first, some buyers blamed themselves for breaking Shenlang's warning. Then they compared experiences and discovered that everyone was weakening at the same time. The buyers finally realized they had been fooled, but with the Crown Prince and Ning Qi already fighting Shenlang, they were still hesitant to make the scandal public. Then the Crown Prince and Ning Qi's factions deliberately released a message: anyone who had secretly given Shenlang money would be forgiven. The message was obvious: go make trouble. The buyers immediately began gathering at the Marquis of Chongping's residence. The entrance to the Marquis of Chongping's residence was soon packed with people shouting, "Refund! Refund!" The insults grew uglier. Some cursed Shenlang, while others even dragged his child into the abuse. Others shouted that if Shenlang needed money, he should have found another way instead of tricking them. Inside the residence, Li Sun told Shenlang not to worry. The king was prepared to order the crowd dispersed, but Shenlang did not want the king to intervene because he had already found a better use for the chaos. Shenlang asked Li Sun to report back that Ningjing should handle the matter. The reason was simple: this was the perfect chance for Ningjing to truly take control of security in the capital. Let the crowd keep going. When the residents still did not respond, the crowd grew bolder, writing insults on the walls and throwing filth inside. Even the baby was frightened into crying, so Shenlang picked her up and soothed her. "Don't be afraid." The family could barely stand watching the baby lose sleep for days, but Shenlang kept saying, "Soon, very soon." Ningjing was almost finished reorganizing the city guards, and their large-scale training was nearly complete. Once Ningjing truly controlled the city guards, Shenlang could sweep up the troublemakers in one move and launch the new operation he had planned with the king. The operation now had an official name: Operation Spring Thunder. With the Southern War approaching, the capital needed stability first. Operation Spring Thunder would use this opportunity to clear out long-term criminals, gangsters, and chronic troublemakers. In short, every lurking menace in the capital was about to be swept away. Ning Yuanxian had also secretly given Ningjing broad authority. Once Operation Spring Thunder began, the capital's long-standing offenders would be dealt with in one sweep. Shenlang sneered, "Those thugs and gangsters are finished. Now we just wait for Ningjing to truly take control of the city guards." After the heaven worship ceremony, Ningjing's prestige soared, and the city guards' attitude toward him changed completely. A reorganization that should have taken several months was compressed into about 1 month. By now, the city guards were basically under Ningjing's control. At the northern park hunting ground, Kui-chen addressed the entire force. "Your training ends today. Next comes your first real mission." The soldiers immediately started whispering, "This many men for one mission? Is something big happening?" At that moment, Li Sun arrived before the army and shouted, "His Majesty has issued a decree. Kneel!" The entire city guard force immediately dropped to their knees to receive the royal order. Li Sun read the decree. The capital had suffered repeated unrest, so Operation Spring Thunder would begin immediately and launch a full sweep against those causing chaos. The supreme commander of Operation Spring Thunder would be Marquis Ningjing. Ningjing accepted the decree on the spot. With authority finally in hand, Ningjing wasted no words. "Army, enter the capital." Large formations of city guards immediately set out toward the capital. Operation Spring Thunder had officially begun. Outside the Marquis of Chongping's residence, the insults kept getting uglier. Some people even started cursing Mulan's unborn child. Others deliberately hurled filthy insults at Shenlang and Mulan. This was clearly no longer just about getting their money back. Suddenly, someone threw a burning torch straight into the Marquis of Chongping's residence. The moment the torch landed inside, the nature of the whole incident changed. The people who had genuinely come for their money were stunned. Demanding a refund is one thing, but setting the place on fire? Who are these people working for? But the ringleaders kept screaming, "Burn it! Smoke them out!" Planted in the crowd as one of Shenlang's men deliberately joined in. "Good! Burn it!" More torches were thrown into the residence, and the entire scene descended into chaos. The ordinary protesters started to panic. Who do these people belong to? If this gets any bigger, aren't we all in trouble? Moments later, thick smoke was already rising from the Marquis of Chongping's residence. More and more people realized something was wrong and started worrying that the whole thing had gone too far. One man stared at the flames and finally reacted. "No, something's wrong." The instigators were still pushing everyone toward arson, but he had already figured it out. "This is a setup. We need to leave now." But by the time he tried to run, both ends of the street had already been completely sealed by the city guards. He froze. How are we supposed to get out? Kui-chen arrived with the city guards. "You dare set fire to the Marquis of Chongping's residence? Charge! Arrest everyone involved in the riot. Anyone who resists or tries to flee will be dealt with severely." The hidden agitators were still shouting. "Everyone rush them together. They can't punish all of us. They won't dare do anything." The ringleaders kept pushing. "There are too many of us. They won't dare touch us." Kui-chen was actually pleased. Operation Spring Thunder needed a powerful opening, and these people had just delivered one. He immediately gave the order. The city guard archers released their arrows together. The front of the crowd was stopped instantly, and everyone behind them them froze. The volley completely halted the front line. Nobody dared keep charging. One young man stared in disbelief. They actually dared to act. We were only cheated out of our money. The arrogant crowd went silent in an instant, replaced by panic. Kui-chen shouted, "Kneel, kneel now, and no one else gets hurt." Large groups of rioters immediately dropped to their knees. Kui-chen pointed at the few still standing. "You too, kneel." One young noble refused. "General, my father is the Earl of Anyuan." Qin Qian raised his status like a shield. Shenlang cheated people first. We only came to demand justice. Why should a nobleman kneel before the city guards? Kui-chen confirmed his identity. "Qin Qian, third son of the Earl of Anyuan?" Qin Qian answered proudly. "That's right." Kui-chen gave him only one order. "Kneel." Qin Qian was still furious. A mere 1,000 household officer was ordering him around. He did not even kneel casually at the crown prince's residence. Kui-chen could not be bothered arguing. He simply waved for the soldiers to act. A moment later, one of the soldiers stepped forward and kicked Qin Qian down onto his knees. Qin Qian had never imagined Kui-chen would actually dare lay hands on him. Then Shenlang walked up. Qin Qian's face changed instantly. Shenlang. Shenlang asked him directly, "You never bought Golden Dragon bloodline, and you're a student of the Imperial Academy. So why are you outside my house causing trouble?" Someone nearby immediately shouted in Qin Qian's defense, claiming everyone who bought Golden Dragon bloodline had hidden their faces, so Shenlang could simply deny it now. Qin Qian joined in. "You dared do it, but you won't let anyone say it?" Shenlang asked back. "What exactly did I do?" Qin Qian shouted. "You cheated everyone out of their hard-earned money. Are we not allowed to demand justice?" Then he twisted it even further, accusing Shenlang of using the city guards to suppress ordinary people and even trying to connect it to rebellion. Shenlang almost laughed. These noble sons might be useless at everything else, but they were experts at throwing dirty accusations at other people. Shenlang exposed Qin Qian directly. The earldom would never pass to him. He had no talent for the examinations, and the crown prince barely even knew who he was. That was why he had come here to make a scene and attract attention. Qin Qian refused to accept it. He mocked Shenlang in return, saying supporting Ningxing was just another form of political gambling for wealth and power. Shenlang smiled. "You really think you came here just to demand money? And you really think the city guards came here only to chase you away? You're wrong." He immediately exposed Qin Qian's record, taking over a pawnshop by force, running predatory loans, hurting debtors, and even causing deaths. Kui-chen now understood. The royal order for Operation Spring Thunder had already been posted throughout the capital, and Qin Qian had been on the investigation list from the beginning. Holding up the royal decree, Shenlang made it clear. Operation Spring Thunder is arresting people who broke the law and disturbed the capital. This is not private revenge. Then he looked at Qin Qian. "In other words, idiot, you're finished." Qin Qian finally panicked, and the city guards immediately took him away. Once Qin Qian was restrained, all his earlier arrogance disappeared. He hurriedly begged, "Young Master Shen, spare me. I can make up for my crimes, expose others, and serve 5th Prince Ningxing." Shenlang rejected him immediately. "Do you think the Marquis of Chongping's residence accepts every stray that walks through the door?" Shenlang scanned the crowd again and spotted several familiar faces. These same professional troublemakers had appeared during the disturbance around the Lan brothers' examination. Shenlang pointed them out one by one. "This one, that one, and you. Arrest all of them." The city guards immediately moved in. The men instantly lost their nerve. "Young Master Shen, we were wrong. We'll never do it again." The professional agitators were dragged away one after another. One of them still protested. "I didn't even say anything just now. Why are you arresting me?" But Shenlang remembered very clearly. These were the same people who had hurled the filthiest insults and thrown garbage into the residence a few days earlier. Shenlang compared the names and discovered that out of 25 familiar troublemakers in front of him, 24 were already on Ningxing's list. Even Shenlang had to admit it. Ningxing really put serious work into Operation Spring Thunder. Then Shenlang noticed the one man who was not on the list and asked what crimes he had committed. The man quickly insisted that he was only an ordinary worker and had never committed a crime. Shenlang asked, "Then why were you outside my house insulting my wife and child?" The man hesitated, then admitted he had failed to arrange a marriage because the woman's family looked down on him. Shenlang was speechless. "They look down on you. What does that have to do with me?" The man said he had been full of anger and needed somewhere to vent it. Shenlang understood the type immediately. Someone who looked harmless on the outside but carried a stomach full of resentment could eventually cause even worse trouble. Shenlang asked, "What's your name?" Someone nearby shouted, "His name is Zhang Yin." Shenlang remembered it. "Zhang Yin, right? I'm not dealing with you today, but if you really commit a crime later, don't expect to run." Then he turned to Kui-chen. "Everyone else handled?" Kui-chen answered, "Yes." Kui-chen's men continued clearing the scene according to the list. All the remaining rioters were now kneeling obediently on the ground. Kui-chen announced again, "His Majesty has ordered that no matter how high your family title is or how much merit your family once had, the law applies equally. Now kneel properly." The noble sons on their knees were all terrified, each silently hoping Shenlang would not notice them. But Shenlang knew perfectly well that these spoiled young nobles usually kept their own thugs, and many of the capital's dirty dealings had their shadows behind them. He scanned the group and knew that most of them were far from innocent. Then Shenlang suddenly smiled. "Gentlemen, I heard I cheated you out of money." Wang Ling was the first to shake his head wildly. No, how could young Master Shin ever cheat us? Absolutely not. Wang Ling immediately changed his story. We donated that money voluntarily. A major war is coming. The fate of the nation concerns every citizen, so of course we had to donate military funds. Shin Lang deliberately pressed him. Oh, really? So I truly never cheated you? Wang Ling nodded again and again. Never. Absolutely never. Wang Ling even thumped his chest. Anyone who slanders young Master Shin will have to answer to me. Wang Ling. Shin Lang finally smiled. Oh, so you're Wang Ling. Then what about the Golden Dragon bloodline? Wang Ling immediately improvised. Young Master Shin saw that our bodies were weak and specially prepared a tonic for us. After I drank it, I really did feel much better. Thank you, young Master Shin. Shin Lang nodded. Wang Ling, very good. Shin Lang took out a military donation certificate. Wang Ling, you voluntarily donated 6,000 gold coins to the army. Come sign your name and leave your mark. I'll even put you on the honor roll. Wang Ling did not dare hesitate. He signed immediately. Yes, yes, an honor for the whole family. Shin Lang handed him the red donation certificate. Take it. Go home. Wang Ling looked as if he had been granted a second life. He thanked Shin Lang repeatedly and promised to display this honor properly. That scared me to death. I actually survived. Shin Lang simply set up a table. Who else donated military funds voluntarily? Come sign, leave your mark, collect your honor certificate, and go home. The people on their knees understood instantly. What was 6,000 gold coins compared with staying alive? One man was signing while secretly cursing Shin Lang when Shin Lang suddenly spoke. No, you don't need to sign. Someone return his 6,000 gold coins. The man froze. What? Shin Lang explained. We're not taking your money. Every coin will be returned to your family. The man became even more terrified. Now Shin Lang would not even let him give the money away. Shin Lang looked at him. Zhang Nengxi, right? Your crimes are too serious, and you think 6,000 gold coins can buy you peace? What do you take the law for? Zhang Nengxi immediately begged from his knees. Young Master Shin, Benefactor Shin, I'm willing to donate too. I love the country too. Shin Lang gave the order. Take him. Zhang Nengxi kept raising his offer even as he was dragged away. The rest finally understood. If Shin Lang was willing to take your money, it actually meant you still had a way out. Some people were not even qualified to donate. Now everyone began silently praying the same thing. Shin Lang, please don't return my money. Please just let me donate it. The truly serious offenders were kept behind. The rest of the noble sons spent 2 hours signing donation certificates, then left one by one clutching their honor papers. Shin 13 watched the entire scene and understood that after today, nobody would dare casually block the Marquis of Chongqing's residence again for quite some time. And this was only one corner of Operation Spring Thunder. The gates of the capital were sealed, and the city guards began a full sweep. Anyone who resisted arrest was dealt with severely. Within only a few days, huge numbers of thugs, bullies, and gangs had been swept away. More than 10,000 people were arrested. Lesser offenders were sent into service, while the real gang leaders desperately started calling in favors. The deeper the investigation went, the more frightened the gang leaders became. One after another, they tried using powerful patrons to save themselves. Outside the Tianhua governor's office, one man arrived carrying connections. I was introduced by Lord Zhang. Gentlemen, perhaps you could make things easier for me. The guards refused immediately. His Highness has ordered that Operation Spring Thunder be handled impartially. Those who should be arrested will be arrested. Those who should be punished will be punished. Fine, fine. Ningjing is the only clean one. Shin Lang is the only clean one. Who in this world doesn't take money or do bad things? But the deeper Operation Spring Thunder burned into the capital, the more hidden filth was uncovered layer by layer. One of the targets was the plum-breaking gang. On the surface it was only a gang, but in secret it had long been trafficking abducted women. The plum-breaking gang was also tied to groups such as the beggar gang and had been involved in abducting children. Ning Zhang's people rescued many victims from their hidden locations. An official hurried in to report, Your Highness, we've found part of the power behind the plum-breaking gang. But Ning Jing told him to continue. The official finally forced out the name. It's Bian Qing, the third son of Duke Bian Chao. When the Crown Prince's faction heard the news, they actually laughed. Doesn't Ning Jing call himself absolutely impartial? Now this involves Consort Bian's people and Duke Bian Zhao's son. Let's see what he does. Everyone expected Ning Jing to back down. Instead, he never even went to ask Ning Yuanxian for permission. He simply ordered the arrests to continue and moved to tear the plum-breaking gang out by the roots. Inside the Heavenly Yu governor's office, the investigation kept moving deeper. Kui Chen and the others soon discovered that the public leader of the plum-breaking gang was only a puppet. The real man behind it was Lian Jin. Even Ning Jing was shocked. Lian Jin? Hasn't his reputation always been excellent? Lian Jin was talented in both literature and martial arts and had an outstanding reputation throughout the capital. He seemed like the last person who would be involved in something this filthy. Ning Jing had even considered recruiting Lian Jin personally. Only now did he truly understand how little appearances meant. Meanwhile, Lian Jin had already brought his wife, Bian Qin, to the Marquis of Long Peace's residence to meet Shin Lang. Looking at Lian Jin dressed all in white, Shin Lang even joked, white as snow. Truly the image of a peerless young noble. Lian Jin smiled and invited him to a poetry gathering 3 days later, adding that Yun Mengzi would be there too. Shin Lang did not even think about it. Not going. Lian Jin had to change the subject. Then perhaps young Master Shin could persuade His Highness Ning Jing. Shin Lang gave the same answer. No. Seeing that soft words were useless, Lien Jin began to warn him. In a person's life, no one knows when misfortune might suddenly come. That's why friends are especially important. Bien Qing made the threat more direct. The plum-breaking gang involved Bien Qing, and Bien Qing was deeply favored by both Duke Bien Xiao and consort Bien. Ning Zheng's strongest support originally came from the Bien faction. If the fire spread too far, the consequences would not be small. Shen Lang had heard enough. See them out. But Lien Jin pulled out an account book and dragged Golden Mountain Pavilion into the matter. Part of the money from Cherished Flower Pavilion and the plum-breaking gang had flowed into Golden Mountain Pavilion, and Golden Mountain Pavilion eventually shared profits with Shen Lang. Golden Mountain Pavilion was originally the Jin family's luxury business in the capital. Many of the products it sold were designed by Shen Lang, so naturally part of the profit was connected to him. After flipping through the accounts, Shen Lang quickly discovered that Cherished Flower Pavilion really had invested in Golden Mountain Pavilion half a year earlier. He immediately realized that someone had probably planted this trap long ago, and Operation Spring Thunder had simply dug it up earlier than expected. Bien Qin and Lien Jin kept using the ledger as leverage. If they fell and the accounts were exposed, Shen Lang himself might not be able to explain everything cleanly. Lien Jin again demanded that Shen Lang persuade Ning Jing to stop. He even patted Shen Lang on the shoulder with a smile. Shen Lang, we're tied together now. Don't set a fire that burns all of us. Shen Lang suddenly smiled. Fine, don't worry. I'll definitely go persuade His Highness Ning Jing. Only then did Lien Jin and Bien Qin leave in satisfaction. Haha, then we'll wait for good news from young Master Shen. The moment they were far enough away, Shen Lang clapped his hands and called for his people. Several men in black immediately appeared before him. Shen Lang directly ordered them to prepare to take down Lien Jin's entire household, with Bien Qin included. Then he called out, 13. In about 3 days, the Hidden Yuan Society would almost certainly make a major move, and when it did, he planned to strike at its headquarters in Yu. After making those arrangements, Shen Lang summoned Jin Wan, the manager of Golden Mountain Pavilion, and went with her to see Ning Zheng. Jin Wan had once been Mulan's wet nurse. She understood people and business extremely well and had long managed the Jin family's interests in the capital. Shen Lang spread out the account book. Half a year ago, did Golden Mountain Pavilion invest in Lien Jin's Cherished Flower Pavilion? Jin Wan nodded. Yes. At the time, it had only been one minor business deal among many, and Jin Wan normally reported such matters to Binger. Binger quickly admitted it. Young master, I approve that deal. I checked them at the time too. Cherished Flower Pavilion had an excellent reputation. Even Consort Bien donated to them, and the sign for Cherished Flower Academy was personally written by Consort Bien. Only then did Shen Lang fully understand it. Cherished Flower Pavilion had always hidden behind a spotless reputation for charity and education. Even Consort Bien had been fooled by that image. Looking back now, Lien Jin had built a public reputation for charity while secretly controlling the plum-breaking gang. If this trap had stayed buried any longer, it could eventually have dragged Shen Lang, Golden Mountain Pavilion, and Consort Bien down together. At that moment, Madman Lan stepped forward. This lead wasn't deliberately handed to us by the Hidden Yuan Society. I uncovered it myself. Madman Lan explained that he had spent years among the lower levels of society and knew this kind of hidden filth very well. Several years earlier, he and a few brothers had tried to rescue an abducted girl. They failed, and several of his brothers were badly injured. A few days ago, he happened to visit Golden Mountain Pavilion to buy something. There, he immediately recognized the woman serving him as the same girl they had once failed to rescue. Madman Lan followed that trail and discovered that the woman had once come through Cherished Flower Pavilion, which led him further to the plum-breaking gang and finally to Lien Jin. Shen Lang nodded. So that's how it happened. Madman Lan quickly asked, Young master, is this going to cause serious trouble? Shen Lang answered, very serious. Luckily you found it early. If this trap had been buried any deeper, even I might not have been able to wash my hands clean. Madman Lan asked, then what do we do? Shen Lang knew that if Lien Jin was exposed publicly, Cherished Flower Pavilion, Consort Bien, and Golden Mountain Pavilion would all be dragged into the same scandal. Shen Lang did not decide for Ning Jing. Instead he asked, Your Highness, what do you think? Ning Jing was silent for a moment. People say justice lives in the hearts of the people. Sometimes that's false, because most people don't truly care about the truth. But it's also true, because justice lives in my own heart. Hearing that only made Shen Lang respect Ning Jing more. He understood everything, yet still chose to stand by the line he believed was right. In the end, Ning Jing said only one thing. I want to do this. Shen Lang nodded. Fine, then we do it. But Your Highness, there are some things I'll have to handle myself. Don't blame me for that. Back at the Lien residence, Bien Qin finally asked Lien Jin, Husband, we already have everything. Why did we ever get involved in those filthy businesses? Lien Jin answered with a question of his own. What do you mean we have everything? Without those businesses, where would all this wealth come from? Where would our power and status come from? He continued, without money, there would be no Cherished Flower Pavilion, no Cherished Flower Academy, and no shining reputation. In the past, he had been nothing more than an unknown man from a declining family. Lien Jin sneered, this world is a game. Only people bold enough and ruthless enough can truly play it. Bien Qin, however, began to worry that Shen Lang might not dare touch her, but he might still dare touch Lien Jin. Lien Lian Jin did not care. He dares touch me? If Cherished Flower Pavilion is exposed, Shenlang, Consort Bien, and the entire Bien clan will all be dragged into it. He proudly pointed out that Golden Mountain Pavilion had people connected to Cherished Flower Pavilion, that Golden Mountain Pavilion really had taken Cherished Flower Pavilion's money, and that Consort Bien had personally written the sign for Cherished Flower Academy. No one could completely separate themselves from it. The more Lian Jin thought about it, the more certain he became that he was untouchable. He raised his wine cup with complete ease. He even believed that if this trap stayed buried a little longer, once it finally exploded, Shenlang would not even have a chance to explain. Lian Jin laughed out loud. Shenlang is ridiculous. Ningjing is ridiculous. Operation Spring Thunder will end with nothing. Those two idiots are only setting themselves on fire. At that moment, Lian Jin's own warriors and the Bien clan warriors rushed in. Young master, madam, bad news. Shenlang sent men here. Lian Jin and Bien Qin were both stunned. Has Shenlang gone insane? Has Ningjing gone insane too? Lian Jin immediately told Bien Qin to go outside and use her status as Consort Bien's niece to stop them. But the moment Bien Qin turned away, Lian Jin slipped into a secret passage. Sorry, my wife. I'm leaving first. At the front gate, Bien Qin shouted her identity. I am Consort Bien's own niece. Who dares offend me? Get out immediately. Kui Chen did not care in the slightest. He gave the order to move. The city guards immediately stormed the Lian residence. The Lian family's private fighters were quickly overwhelmed. Bien Qin could not believe they actually dared move against her. You really dare. More men poured into the residence, giving her no chance to delay them any longer. The Bien clan fighters guarding the entrance were also quickly defeated. The Lian residence's final resistance was completely crushed. Meanwhile, Lian Jin was fleeing through the secret passage toward one of the Hidden Yuan Society's hidden bases. He believed that once he entered Hidden Yuan territory, he would be safe. Lian Jin had not originally belonged to the Hidden Yuan Society, but Shu Buotao and Shu Tingyu had gradually drawn him in, and now that they knew all his secrets, he had no other path left. The trap aimed at Shenlang had actually been planted years ago. Once everything was exposed, Lian Jin had no choice but to flee to the Hidden Yuan Society for protection. As he ran, he mourned the household and wealth he had spent years building and swore that one day he would find a way to take revenge on Shenlang. But when he reached the exit, only one person was standing ahead. Lian Jin froze. Who are you? Confident in his own martial ability, Lian Jin charged forward. Anyone who blocks me dies. The woman made only one move. Lian Jin did not even understand what had happened before both his hands were disabled. He crashed to the ground. Lian Jin stared in disbelief. A woman disabled both my hands with one sword? The woman removed her hat, revealing herself as Madame Chiu, wife of Sword King Li Qianqiu. Back at the Lian residence, Bien Qin was still screaming at Kui Chen. Lackey, bring Shenlang here. I don't speak to lackeys. Bien Qin kept throwing out her family background. I'm Consort Bien's niece and Duke Bien Zhao's niece. Who dares touch me? Who dares touch my family? Kui Chen ignored her completely and continued clearing the residence. The Lian residence was quickly brought under full control. Only then did Bien Qin realize they had never intended to negotiate with her. She was taken into custody as well. Before leaving, Kui Chen deliberately left behind words identifying the act as the work of Great Bandit Kudu Huan, disguising what had really happened. Half an hour later, Lian Jin and Bien Qin had both been brought back to the basement of the Marquis of Long Peace's residence. Shenlang finally appeared before them. The moment Bien Qin saw him, she shouted, Shenlang, how dare you? I want to see Consort Bien. I want to see His Majesty. Where is Ningjing? Bring Ningjing here. Bring Ningjing to me. Without the Bien clan's support, what does he have to fight for the throne? Shenlang ignored her and turned to Lian Jin instead. Lian Jin, you followed Shu Buotao's orders from the Hidden Yuan Society to harm me? Lian Jin was still smiling. When you walk the martial world, sooner or later you take a hit, right? Shenlang smiled too. Well said. When you walk the martial world, sooner or later you take a hit. A moment later, Shenlang made Lian Jin pay for what he had done. Lian Jin was quickly subdued and could no longer laugh. Bien Qin screamed, Shenlang, you dare do this to my husband? You've completely offended the Bien clan. You're finished. She was restrained as well. Bien Qin also lost any ability to resist. Shenlang sneered. Do you still think I'm going to sit down and negotiate with you? Then ask what connections you have to the Hidden Yuan Society and the Crown Prince? You're thinking too much. If I want to deal with someone, I don't need that many reasons. Making me angry is reason enough. And you, Lian Jin, actually came here acting superior in front of me? Shenlang then ordered Wu Lai to finish dealing with Lian Jin, leaving him no chance to return. After dealing with Lian Jin, Shenlang immediately entered the palace and told Ning Yuanxian and Consort Bien everything from beginning to end. He made the core of the case clear. The plum-breaking gang and Cherished Flower Pavilion were both ultimately controlled by Lian Jin, and Shenlang had already dealt with Lian Jin and Bien Qin first. Consort Bien burst into tears. She had everything. Why would she follow Lian Jin into something like this? I'm her own aunt. She lacked nothing. Why would she still help him do these things? Shenlang already understood it. Bien Qin had been completely controlled by Lian Jin and was willing to follow him in almost anything. Seeing that Consort Bien could no longer hold herself together, Ning Yuanxian helped her away to rest. Half an hour later, Ning Yuanxian asked Shenlang privately, was the Hidden Yuan Society society behind this? Shenlang nodded. Yes, Xu Buotao personally ordered Lien Jin to do it. He wanted to drag both me and Consort Bien into the same scandal. Ning Yuanxian slammed the table in fury. Outrageous. Completely lawless. What has Blackwater Platform been doing? Lien Jin committed all of this, and they never uncovered it. Shenlang explained that Ning Jing had originally wanted to put Lien Jin on public trial and expose every crime connected to Cherished Flower Pavilion. But too many innocent or loosely connected people would have been dragged into the scandal, so Shenlang had acted first and dealt with Lien Jin's household and Bien Qin directly. Ning Yuanxian approved immediately. You did the right thing. If this exploded completely, the consequences would be enormous. It could become one of the greatest scandals in the entire court. Ning Yuanxian understood human nature. People always assume the worst. If Consort Bien became stained by this scandal, her reputation could be destroyed for life. He asked whether the Hidden Yuan Society would still expose everything. Shenlang believed they would not. Now that Lien Jin was gone, if Hidden Yuan voluntarily exposed Cherished Flower Pavilion, they would only redirect part of the hatred aimed at Shenlang back onto themselves. Ning Yuanxian understood and repeated, handled well, very well. Ning Yuanxian now fully understood that Shenlang had deliberately taken the most dangerous part of the responsibility onto himself, essentially protecting both Consort Bien and Ning Zheng. At that moment, Li Sun entered to report, Your Majesty, His Highness Ning Jing has arrived. Ning Yuanxian was slightly surprised. He wondered whether Ning Jing had come to ask about Lien Jin and ordered him brought in. Ning Jing entered and bowed. Greetings, father. Ning Yuanxian asked, What is it? But Ning Jing first turned to Shenlang and thanked him solemnly. Thank you, Brother Shen. Watching this, Ning Yuanxian realized that although this son often looked slow and stiff, he understood everything. Seeing that Ning Jing had nothing else to say, Ning Yuanxian told him to go comfort Consort Bien. Ning Jing accepted the order. Only then did Ning Yuanxian ask Shenlang, Do you need a decree from me? The meaning was obvious. Did Shenlang want royal power used directly against the Hidden Yuan Society? Shenlang refused at once. Absolutely not. My fight with Xu Buotao and Xu Tingyu can still be treated as a private feud. Your Majesty can pressure them in secret, but you cannot openly move against the Hidden Yuan Society. You owe them too much money. Their influence is too great, and the Great Flame Empire stands behind them. Ning Yuanxian still could not swallow his anger. The Hidden Yuan Society has offended me again and again, and now they even tried to frame you and Consort Bien. Are we supposed to just let this go? Shenlang answered, Of course not. Shenlang made it clear that an even bigger show was coming next, one that would make both the Hidden Yuan Society and the Crown Prince's faction suffer badly. His real plan against Hidden Yuan's headquarters and you was only just beginning. Ning Yuanxian immediately asked, When? Shenlang answered without hesitation. 3 days from now. After the Lien Jin case was handled, the capital became even busier. Operation Spring Thunder did not stop, and Ning Yuanxian continued ordering the city guards to make arrests across the city. Shen 13 came to report to Shenlang, Master, public order in the capital has improved dramatically. The people are applauding everywhere. All of this is being credited to Ning Jing and Operation Spring Thunder. It's also a major advantage in the struggle for succession.